you get the full details. Okay, so $338.9 million approved for Accra Tema motorway extension. And so this motorway extension project, something that Asasi Radio here championed greatly under the leadership of the current CEO of Asasi Radio, George Anda, and also Caleb Ahinakwa, who was the in-house journalist who championed this. The results that this program has actually gotten is the fact that Parliament has finally approved the $338.9 million needed for the Accra Tema motorway extension, and it is by local companies and local participation. Essentially, a very good development, if you ask me. All right, so that's the lead story on the front page of the Daily Guide. Sekondi Takoradi Best Farmer stripped of title. Story is on page 3 of that the paper. If you want to know why the best farmer in Sekondi has been stripped of the title, we probably will have to get the details. Really, page 3 of the paper says that the 44-year-old man who was adjudged the 2023 best farmer of the Sekondi Takoradi Metropolis has been stripped of his title for alleged misrepresentation. So, Osagyefo Stephen Rowell, a farmer at Ahanta in the Western region, who holds a Bachelor of Science degree in agriculture, teaches agricultural science at the Sekondi College. He was said to have entered the competition using a farm belonging to the school and not his own farm. Wow. Okay, so that is the major reason. He didn't have a farm. He used the school's farm because he's a lecturer, and he says that it is his farm. Indeed, I think that the stripping is in order. Okay, so Foreign Affairs seeks passport fees increase, and this has been in the offing. We are told that government and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is subsidizing passport applications up to 300 Ghana cedis. And the ministry, and for that matter, government, is now saying that it is no longer tenable to subsidize passport applications up to 300 Ghana cedis for each applicant. And so people are going to have to pay realistic fees. And the realistic fee, we are being told, is about 500 Ghana cedis to apply for a passport. So let's see how it goes. There's a publication on asasiradio.com written by PK Sapon justifying this move by Foreign Affairs to increase passport fees. You can read that article on asasiradio.com and make your own conclusions on that. Ghana Diaspora Engagement Policy launched, and President Akufo-Addo launched this diaspora engagement policy. It's a new policy which was launched the other day by President Akufo-Addo at the Jubilee House. It is his hope that this new policy will help develop better relations between Ghana and the global citizens, and for that matter, global Africans. Okay, so that's how the newspapers are looking like, the 4 newspapers that we have today on making the stands in our country. All right, so we'll take a quick breather. Once we are back from the breather, we will sit down for our discussion on the 2 major issues: inflation and lithium. Accra, Sasi Radio, 100.3 Cape Coast, 99.7 in Tamale, and 98.5 in Kumasi. You are on The Forum. The Forum is your weekend political and current affairs show. Today, we are talking lithium and we are talking inflation. Now, if you're joining us on Facebook, you are on Asase 99.5. I invite you to share our page. Tell a friend that the Asase Forum, the Forum is actually airborne. We are going to have a very interesting discussions today on the two major subjects. And so joining us today for our discussion, Kwame Jantua. Kwame Jantua is a member of the Convention People's Party and also a private legal practitioner. He works largely in the extractive industry, and so he's well versed to discuss these matters with us. There is also Gloria Ofori Buedu, who is a managing legal. Okay, so she's a practicing lawyer and also a private legal practitioner, I should say, with a lot of experience in the industry, in the legal industry. She joins us today, Gloria Ofori Buedu. Alex Jemfi is a private legal practitioner. He also joins us this morning. And Nick Pakpo Samoa Ado is the managing partner at Ado and Ado Legal Attorneys. He's also a lecturer at the Gimpa Law Faculty and a member of the National Democratic Congress, the NDC. He also joins us as we talk about the extractive industry and the issue about lithium, and then also talk about the inflation issues and matters arising following the downward trend of inflation. I thank you very much indeed for tuning into Asasi Radio this morning. Now, this morning, let me just start before I introduce my guest, the CEO of the Minerals Income Investment Fund, Mr. Edward Nanaya Kranting, has stated that the equity participation by MIF in Atlantic Lithium and its subsidiary Bahrawi DV Ghana Limited, which is developing the Ewoya lithium mine in Ghana, is a game-changing benchmark which should guide Ghana's future investments in mineral resources. The Minerals Income and Investment Fund is investing a total of $32.9 million United States dollars into this initial phase, with $27.9 million covering all Atlantic Lithium's tenements in Ghana's, representing a 6% stake, and $5 million United States dollars representing 3.06 stake in Atlantic Lithium, the global holding company listed on the Australia and London stock exchanges. This paid-up capital by a state entity is in the mining industry is unprecedented in Ghana's history, according to Mr. Kranting. Leveraging minerals, leveraging MIFs as a sovereign wealth fund is to, in fact, so let me read this better. So it says that, according to Mr. Kranting, leveraging MIFs as a sovereign wealth fund to acquire additional equity stake beyond the state's free carried interest and as a leveler to support higher Ghanaian participation in the entire value delivery process should become the standard operating principle for Ghana. So he's quoted as saying that the participation of MIF in the lithium space and the mining sector should be the new norm for Ghana. This also sends a signal of confidence to investors and exploratory companies that Ghana is a preferred mining destination because the state, through MIF, is prepared to take additional equity on commercial terms, thereby providing a de-risking mechanism for investors. And so this is some story that was published largely here on Asasi Radio and other portals about Edward Kranting, the Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Investment Fund, where he talks about the fact that Ghana's lithium deal, as has been signed with the Bahrawi DV Ghana Limited, is a game changer. And he thinks that it should be the basis upon which all future contracts, as far as the mining industry is concerned, should be hanged on. Now, some people have also shared various opinions about this, talking about the fact that there could have been a more deeper negotiation to get more value for Ghana. But the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has put out all the details. They have also, through the Minerals Commission, justified Ghana's Ghana's discussions with the Barari DV and all the issues that have come up. And so today on the forum, we are going to be discussing these issues and to put perspectives to them. I know we started the discussion last week, but we are continuing this week looking at the progressive nature of this particular deal, and then also to talk about the breakdown of the details according to how the Minerals Investment Fund sees this development. Okay, so this program is live also on ABC News Television. ABC News Television is taking this program, the forum, live, and we invite you to tune in there if you are on your television. So we are also live on X. X is former Twitter. So we are live on X. So if you are on Twitter, you can also listen to this conversation. You can send in your messages both on Facebook and also on Twitter, and we'll be minded to read them. So thank you once again for tuning into Asase Radio. We'll begin our conversation today on the issues arising from lithium and also some of the details that is being put out there by the Minerals Investment Fund, Minerals Income and Investment Fund. Mr. Kwame Jantua has just joined in the studio. Good morning to you, Mr. Jantua.
Good morning. I didn't think I'd be the first one in. Good morning to our listeners. Good morning to our viewers.
It appears that these days you are always the first.
And a happy Christmas to you all. I try my best.
Yes, you're doing well.
Being a sitting tenant, you should show good example.
So we are some 9 days to Christmas.
It's only a day.
It's only a day. Okay, all right. So indeed,
nowadays Christmas is for the young ones, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, why do you say so?
Christmas is for the from year 1 to 35. We the old ones, we sit and then we postulate into the next year.
Okay.
What is going to happen?
It is well.
It's very well. If you wake up in the morning, you're breathing, you should thank God. Life is not that bad, you know.
It is not at all. Okay, so Mr. Jantua, the issues about lithium are not going away.
Oh, God.
They are not going away. Last week, I remember we talked about it. This week, it is back. It is still on the front burner, and we are still having to talk about it again.
I haven't even settled.
I know. Okay, so you know, as I allow you to settle, so there is this breakdown here that I'm just going to read shortly, and then I allow Mr. Jantua to settle. So, Mineral Income and Investment Fund is investing $27.9 million United States dollars in Atlantic Lithium, Ghana's subsidiary, for a 6% contribution interest, covering all the company's Ghana portfolio assets. MEF's investment takes Ghana's interest to 23.4%, made up of Government of Ghana's free 13%, Ghanaian private stakeholder in Barari Holdings 4.4%, and MEF's paid up 6% equity injection. So MEF also subsidized. MEF also subscribed for 19,245,574 Atlantic Lithium Global Company and Holdings Company shares at a strike price of 20 pence for 5 million United States dollars, equating to 3.06 of the holding company. The share price as of 8th December on the LSE, which is the London Stock Exchange, was 27.23 pence, which is above the price MIFS paid up for it. So the investment also allows MIFS to benefit from Atlantic's global exploratory efforts, including an ongoing potential in Ivory Coast. So MIF negotiated warrants or the rights to buy more shares at a locked-in price. This is an option MIF can choose to exercise or not. Consideration to this exercise will be premised on share price, trends, and other considerations. The negotiation warrants are priced at 0.36 United States dollars, which entitles MIF to acquire 9.6 million shares at a value of 3.5 million United States dollars. I know these are a lot of figures and a lot of stuff that we do not really want to go on that path. We want to simplify this and to talk about it. So, Ms. Jantwa, I believe now you have settled. So, MIF is saying that.
Do I have a choice? I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Let's go on.
So, MIF is saying that if it looks at the processes that have been put in place, the agreements that have gone, it says that the current state or the deal that has been signed with Barari DV in the understanding should form the basis for all future considerations when it comes to the extractive industries, particularly as the world moves into the green the green world, where we are looking at extracting all these resources that are helping us to build a green future.
Well, I've said good morning to our listeners. Let me give someone who is, I'll call her a doyen in agriculture, from the AGI, Fatima Ali Mohammed. She is, when you talk about agriculture, she is agriculture. She's listening to us, so I'm giving her a shout out.
Okay, good morning. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Look, we have discussed this, as you rightly said, over and over again. It's on all media shows, media programs. We have butchered it, we have caressed it, we have hugged it, we have said all things about it. Now, there are different sides to this argument. The side that you indicated as a platform for future extractive contracts. It could be a platform. However, extractive contracts could be different. They could be different depending on the kind of mineral you're talking about. So in as much as you'd get, say, 23% here, the process of extracting another mineral could be different from the process of extracting this one. Whether we look at it from the end point in terms of revenue and work our way backwards is another argument. But for me, the basic argument, which I heard the minister talk about yesterday on another station, Joy FM, where he indicated that the most important thing about this particular transaction is the fact that they have, would I say requested, or they have asked that a certain percentage be put on the stock exchange for Ghanaians to also go and purchase shares. So I asked the question, how many Ghanaians can purchase shares on the stock exchange? That's the first point of all. And one of the examples we can use is a AGC that time when they did a similar thing and people went to buy shares. And up to today, I've not received 1 peso. I bought shares, 1 peso from it. Now, when you even talk about shares, doesn't it have to do with cost? Doesn't it have to do with a situation where the company's cost would have to be looked at first? So they say this year we have spent X amount of billions of dollars to do Y in operations. So because of that, we cannot give any dividends. If that continues, how does the Ghanaian benefit? The other side of the coin, Wilberforce, and if you go and you go onto YouTube and you look at the interview I gave on lithium in 2015. And the reason why I gave that interview was the fact that I wanted authorities to realize that this lithium thing is true. And we should start. If we started in 2015, if we started in fact, where oil is concerned, if we started at the beginning of the Fourth Republic, because we knew we had oil, and we encouraged local companies to build capacity within themselves and even be deliberate in choosing those local companies to build capacity within themselves. When we now got to exploration, would we not have Ghanaian companies participate? You look at the oil industry today. How many Ghanaian companies are in there? And so with this, I expected, yes, we want the money. Yes, lithium is a green mineral. Could we not have said, we've realized we have lithium. We've realized we have coltan. We've realized we have X. We've realized we have first. We have all this. However, we're not going to start exploration. We are going to make sure that Ghanaian companies participate. Please. These are the regulations we've put down for Ghanaian companies to build capacity within themselves. So that when we start exploration, we can have Ghanaian companies.
This is going to take us several years.
Please.
Over 50 years.
Why would it take us 50 years? Don't, you see, such comments make it feel as if Ghanaians don't have the capacity.
Do we?
We do. Please. Don't take Ghanaians for granted. Give them the opportunity. And let them show you what they can do. You see, the other side of the coin, one of the biggest mistakes we make in this country, any foreign company that comes into Ghana has personal interest and no personal friends. We should remember that. They have personal interest and no personal friends. So if they come and they say, we think you people have a certain mineral, and then we say, okay, we'll give you a reconnaissance license. Go and explore and see what you would get. Have you, the country, invested in that reconnaissance license? Have they not brought their own money in? And if they brought their own money in, how do you expect to share with them? How do you expect to share equally with them? How do you even expect to say, it is my property, I determine how the revenue goes? How?
Okay,
what should be done? We should, and I hope going forward, we will do it. We should build capacity. And when I say build capacity, I mean in resources. Because the people there, they have all the manpower and all the brain power and capacity to do it. We should invest in the Geological Survey Department. That is what we should do first. Number two, investing in there. Number two, we should try our possible best to map out where all our minerals are in this country. Data is key. Why? Because the Americans, the Chinese, the British, the French, they know every mineral in this country.
So these are recommendations that we would have talked about in the course of the program. But I know you started it already. But the question I wanted to ask is that, so Barari, for example, we are told since they got their prospecting license in 2012, have invested up to about 57 million United States dollars, doing all the work that they have done until the point where we are. And the total amount investments that they are going to make, including the building of the refinery, amounts to about 185 million United States dollars. Do I hear you saying that potentially we have Ghanaian companies who, if was chosen in 2012, for example, and given the right to do the prospecting, would have had the capacity to invest that 57 million United States dollars into the work that has been done by Barari thus far, and also invest the extra monies that is required out of the remaining $185 million to build a refinery and all that? Are you saying that we could find local people here who will do that investment, take that risk?
Are you saying we don't have the potential? We don't have the people to do it?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm only asking the questions.
I'm telling you that there are Ghanaians in Ghana who can raise that money. I'm telling you.
Okay, like Ghanaian companies. Do you have an example?
Companies,
like 2 or 3 examples.
Oh, I'm not playing politics. Though.
Okay.
I won't play politics. But let me take Jata Cement. Let me take Jata Cement. Is it not a local company? Is it a Ghanaian company? Put the politics aside. It's not a Ghanaian company. Have they not started cement production in this country? Are there not other companies in this country who have been able to put this country on the map? Are there not? So, look, don't underestimate Ghanaians. Give them the opportunity. See, one thing that stops Ghanaian businesses from actually going out there to do stuff is the politics.
Some have said that it is more of the risk-taking that people, for example, in the bauxite industry, Rockshore is a local company that has partnered with Giadec, and they are working. From all indications, they are making progress in the exploration of bauxite. One of the days, there was an engagement with some officials, and one of the people from Rockshore says that some Ghanaians who are his colleague business people in the system have told him that why is he taking so much risk investing into the extractives with all these huge monies? What is his end game? Because they are into building residential facilities, renting them out and selling them, and it is easier, risk-free. So they see this man who is taking steps in the bauxite industry as taking too much risk, and they are equal business people who perhaps have equal financial wherewithal to invest, but they are seeing someone who is going to the extractive industries are taking too huge a risk, and they don't want to go there. Is that not the situation?
Isn't life a risk?
Yes, it is.
Exactly. Life is a risk, and I choose what I want to go into. I choose, I sit, I do a SWOT analysis of what I want to do. I look at the strengths, I look at the weaknesses, I look at the opportunities, I look at the threats, and I work it out. And I say to myself, it's an investment to go into. And I go out there and I go find money. And it depends on how you handle and manage the money you've brought in. Yes, you can twin with other companies outside. You can twin with other companies. But the most important thing is, how will it affect our economy? Look, this lithium deal, they said for the next 25 years, we're going to make trillions of dollars. I think 25 trillion.
Really?
Yes. The next 25 years, the 25-year period.
Only from the resources that we discovered.
Yes.
But that's
trillions.
That's not the figure that we
trillions.
We are told that their span is 15 years.
Look.
Yes.
I have the map, which shows, or I can show it to you on my phone, which shows all the deposits of lithium. Let me open and show it to you.
We already know the deposits.
Yeah, I still have the map.
Really?
I'll show it to you.
I wish we could project that on Facebook.
I don't project it. It's privileged information. But I'll show it to you.
Okay.
No problem. I'll show it to you.
Okay. So this map is from where?
The satellite maps that have been taken.
When were they taken?
No, I don't want to divulge my what do you call it?
But Mr. Jantwa, it is important that our listeners get to know the details that you're talking about. It's important.
I need to have to protect my what do you call it?
No, I'm making sure that you protect your sources.
Yes,
not to disclose your sources, but in terms of the information, we need to put it out there.
Let me give it to you for you to look at it, and then you tell me whether Awoya is even in there. To start from Awoya first. To see that is in there. And when you see that it's in there,
Awoya is in the central region.
Yes.
And are you suggesting that the mineral resources, as far as lithium is concerned, goes way beyond the central region?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Which other regions are in your in your images?
Let me show you. You read it yourself. I won't tell you. I'll show it to you.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Jantwa is trying to pull out some details as far as his satellite map is concerned when it comes to Ghana's lithium deposits. He says that he has access to a satellite map that shows where lithium is in our country. And so he's about showing it to me. If I get to see it, I should be able to put out the details that I can put out. But for now, what we do know from the Minerals Commission and Co. is that it is only in the Awoya enclave that we have been able to actually ascertain the kind of resources we have there, and to the extent that they are commercial. And so they said that beyond that, they think that the Geological Survey Department. Okay, so
what is the heading on there?
So granite lithium occurrences. Okay, so Ms. Jantwa is showing me a map that is actually showing that beyond the central region, when it comes to lithium, there are also lithium deposits in some parts of the Ashanti region, some parts of the Bono East region, some parts of the Northwest region, and then some parts of, in fact, majority of the Upper West region, if not the entire Upper West region, and then some parts of the Savannah region, and also other parts of the Upper East region. And so, if you look at the satellite map that Ms. Janto has just shown me, you will see the deposits. And I actually wish I could show this to our viewers on Facebook.
Open, enlarging the Ewoya site there.
Yes. So, if you look at the Ewoya area, so you would see that the deposit actually transcends Ewoya and even the central region. I think there's some parts of the eastern region which also have deposits from the map that I'm looking at, and then the western region itself, and then also the western north region, pockets of places in the western north region, the Bono East region, and the Ashanti region. So in the Ashanti region, I'm seeing places like Intonsu. Is this Ofuasi Yurebi?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's eastern region. Okay, so the deposits are mostly central, going up to some parts of the eastern region, and then some parts of the western north region. Majority of the deposits, if you ask me, really are in the upper west region.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
I lie? Did I lie?
Well, but that's a satellite image. It's subject to it's not subject to review, but it's subject to clarification.
So we need to, if we've got a map like this, we as Ghanaians should get the Geological Service Department to go in and see what is there. We shouldn't wait for a company to come from abroad and say we want to mine lithium. You heard what the minister said yesterday. It's likely that Ghana, according to him, is going to be the biggest country that has deposits of lithium going forward. But you see, the thing that makes the local bit interesting is the fact that we have oil, we have lithium, we have silica, we have glass sand. So with our lithium, we can do batteries, can't we? With our lithium, with our bauxite, with our manganese, we can combine and do materials for building planes, can't we? We can also use our oil, just like ExxonMobil is doing, to convert our crude into plastic pellets and manufacture panels, light panels for electric cars. Ghana can be a hub. All these things I talk about, it will not come tomorrow. But so far as the plan is in our head, and we can put that plan together, get NDPC, get Geological Service, get all these, institutions, get the private businessman, sit around the table and say, okay, ABCD is what we have. How can we convert it going forward?
Okay, Mr. Joshua, let's talk about
now.
Okay, you finish this point and then we'll talk about something else. Yes.
With the green minerals, I think we shouldn't treat green minerals under the same policy and laws we are treating our previous extractives like gold, diamond, and the rest. We should have different laws for green minerals. And in those different laws, we need to have a situation where, if possible, and it is something that we should think about, if possible, government says any company that wants to come into our country to mine green minerals, the first point of call is the revenue share. Second point of call is how we get Ghanaians in there. And third point of call, and these are options that we can discuss, is that we can decide that you, Wilberforce, you have a lithium company. We can decide to hire you and pay you for your services and maybe give you a certain small percentage so that we would be responsible to make sure that we have a refinery in the country. This refinery you talk about, why should we let Atlantic Lithium build a refinery? Can we not build a refinery? Are you trying to tell me that the 185 million, Ghana cannot raise that 185 million? How much do we spend in buying vehicles in this country? Isn't it more than 185 million? and you're saying we cannot do it. It's got to do with prioritizing your economy.
Okay, so beneficiation is what I wanted us to talk about, and the beneficiation literally has everything to do with the refinery. Hitherto, in our country,
beneficiation.
So, but when I mean how we are going to benefit from it as a country. So the hitherto in our extractives, if you look at gold and what have you, we have always extracted the raw materials and exported them in its raw state until the coming into office of the Akufo-Addo government. Then we had in the bauxite sector, the government is insisting that we will not mine our bauxite deposits and send them in its raw state, and so we should build a refinery here. The second time we are seeing this demand for a refinery is in this lithium sector, where the government is saying that we will not export our raw materials when it comes to lithium, but let's refine them here and let's export the refined portions of it. The question I'm asking is that, is this not a reflection of the fact that we are departing from what has been the norm when it comes to our extractives? Because up to today, we are not refining gold in our country. We are taking the gold and exporting the raw gold. All other minerals, we are just extracting them and sending them in its raw state. Now, there's a government that says that we don't think that that is beneficial. It has not benefited us in any way. Going forward, when it comes to the extracting of our raw materials, let's process them here first. And that is going to be the foundation for our minerals explorations going forward. Is that not a good starting point?
In this Fourth Republic, we have had lazy politicians. In this Fourth Republic, we've had lazy politicians, lazy leaders. Why do I say that? Have we not done it before? Have we not done it before? Tell me. Have we not done it before?
You are much older than I am, so you can tell us whether we've done it before.
I'm telling you, we've done it before. We even had nail factory in Ghana. Nails. Matches factory we had in Ghana. Glass factory we had in Ghana. Have we not done it before? So can't we say to ourselves, look, and this is beginning of Fourth Republic. I'm not holding any present government responsible. All governments in the Fourth Republic. Why didn't we say to ourselves, we've done this thing before. We had times when we produced our own juice. We had time when we produced our own corned beef. We had time when we produced our own jute sacks for our cocoa. Can't we start from there? Okay, let's start. If we had started beginning of Fourth Republic, would we not be far away? So right now, if this is what we are going to do, it's a good thing for us to say, okay, let's do it. How do we do it? Do we still depend on foreign companies to come and build these factories for us? Is that what we do? No, I don't think that is what we should do. I think what we should do, we have teeming youth in this country. We've got to be deliberate in making sure that our universities, our tertiary institutions, schools, are teaching lessons and subjects that would allow the youth to see the benefits in some of these things. And look, if we continuously, yes, we need them, but we need to start from a certain point of view. If we continuously depend on foreign companies to come in and build our country for us, it will not work. What do we need? We need money in our banks. We need money in our banks for the banks to be able to help in our development. So how do we do that? How do we make sure that we have money in our banks? First point of call, we look at the strength of our currency. Because if your currency keeps depreciating, today is this, tomorrow is that, how do you have a strong economy? How? So you can see that the fundamentals of the economy links into a lot of the things that we should do. But you see, Wilberforce, it is not a question of one party being able to do it. And that's the mistake we make. So right now, President Akufo-Addo says, from this point on, we are going to add value to our product before we export. Good. What is the opposition saying?
But is it not a political party position? It's rather a government position. And we know government can change hands, but if it is a government position, then it becomes stronger because it's policy. For example, Minerals Commission, together with the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and all that, are those who have put their heads together and made this recommendation to a government, and the government has accepted it. Are we suggesting that another government comes and will say that the decision to say that let's add value to our raw materials here is a wrong one, and so we are going back to just exporting?
Have we not seen it? What are you telling me, Wilbur? You live in this country. You're a seasoned journalist. Have you not seen it?
No,
you say it's government. It's government, not party. What do they call the government? What do they call the government? What is this government called? Tell me.
Is it not the government of Ghana?
What is this government called?
You want to buy...
When the president comes to stand on the podium,
so he belongs to a political party.
He says MPP government. He says MPP government. Please, you cannot distinguish the two.
Okay, but I have not heard the opposition saying that if they get the opportunity to come to government, they will depart from the agreement or the suggestion that we should add value to our raw materials.
Let them come into power. Let the different parties come into power. Our own, what do you call it, sugar factory.
You mean Commander?
Yes, the own sugar factory. When the MPP came into power, if they had continued it, would we not have a semblance of producing sugar today? Would we not?
But they continued. They were looking for a partner. They said they had found one. The sources of raw materials for the processing of the plant was an issue. So they invested into it. So it's an ongoing process. It's just that it couldn't have been materialized within that a short period of time. But we are told that the processes have continued.
What is short period of time?
I know it's been 8 years or 7 years.
Exactly.
Yes. But I'm only suggesting that
there was the
if
structure,
you say that it wasn't continued
there was the structure of the refinery there. There was a structure there. So you felt there were challenges with the processes. Let the thing work and deal with the processes, the challenges you saw later. Let it work.
What about if the challenges are preventing you from letting it work?
Give me an example.
You need raw materials to process.
It's all part and parcel of it.
Sugar cane.
It is all part and parcel of it.
Okay, so let's not divert our conversation.
We are talking industrialization. This lithium thing has got to do with industrialization and how we industrialize.
So your position is that even though the government is saying that from our history, we have not really focused on adding value to our minerals. Now we've gotten to the point where we want to go back to that, like you were saying, that it was done in the past. We are going back to that. So they are starting with bauxite and also now lithium. You are thinking that even though that idea is good, the foundation of it, which is the processing machines or the processing factory, the refineries, should be Ghanaian owned and not driven by foreign enterprises.
Yes. And if the concept of perpetual secession works, we won't be in problems. If the concept of perpetual secession works and we go according to the Constitution, where it states that governments should continue whatever the other government has left off, we won't be in this mess. We won't be. And this is why I tell you that politics plays a huge role. The politics plays a huge role. There should be a point, and this should be a point where we say, never again. Let's try and identify those commodities and products that has a huge return into the economy quickly. And gold is a good place to start. You indicated that what? We export bullion still, don't we? We do have a refinery here, don't we? PMMC, the refinery there, isn't it? What is stopping the refinery from working? I think it's got to do with some international regulations that we haven't been able to put to use. When was that refinery built? When was it built? Look, if we in the country, our governments, can realize that if we are able to put certain strategic things together, like some of these refineries we're talking about, one or two together, anybody who is coming in wanting to mine our gold, our bauxite, our manganese. He has no, or they have no right to say, we are taking it to America, we are taking it to West Indies, we are taking it to Britain to do what? To refine and then bring it back in and sell it to us at a higher price. They would have to refine here. Can you imagine if we're refining gold in this country? Can you imagine what it will do to our economy? Look at what it has done to South Africa. Has gold done the same to Obuasi?
So are the gold being refined in South Africa being refined by only indigenous South African companies?
Well, most of the gold that is refined in South Africa, they're not only indigenous companies, there are foreign companies in there, but it is refined in there. They even refine some of our gold. They buy gold from us and take it there to refine for us.
So is that not what the government is trying to say it wants to do with bauxite
I
and lithium?
am not against what the government is trying to do. Don't put words in my mouth.
Oh, no,
I'm not against it. I think it's a good thing. Can we continue?
But you think that it should be? It shouldn't be foreign owned. But it should be Ghanaian owned.
I think that some can be Ghanaian owned, some can have a joint venture with Ghanaians. I want the Ghanaian participation in there. That is what I'm looking for.
So is that not what MIF is saying it has done? Because it is investing up to 32 million United States dollars.
I indicated to you from the beginning that what MIF has done could be a good platform to start off with. However, it depends on the mineral you're talking about. What we've done so far with regards to lithium and some of the things that we have said could be a good platform. But if you say we've moved from 10% to 13%,
not 10%, we've moved from 5%.
You move from 5% to 13%.
We are told that the mineral royalties market, as it were, ranges between 5 and 6%. But the current negotiation was done at 10% plus an extra 3%, making it 13%. And all that. So that's what we are told.
And you will find that these percentages pertain more on the African continent than anywhere else. So you see, the fact that it pertains on the African continent, we on this continent, governments on this continent, leadership on this continent should be able to sit down and say, we have X minerals here, X minerals there, X minerals there. We are no more interested in these meager percentages that these people give us. The African continent is saying any foreign company that comes into Africa to mine, this is the percentage we are looking for. You either come or you either go. They need it more than we need it. They need it more, and nobody can tell me that if we were to put certain regulations in place with regards to the percentages that we benefit from, nobody can tell me they won't come. Because the kind of minerals we have in Africa, Africa is the cradle of the world. But we in Africa don't seem to respect that. And sometimes the corruption element kills this our continent. That corruption element. We tend to forget that if we do it right. But let me give you an analogy. So, you have a company. You are granted the license. Everything you did went wah, 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 wah. Things are looking good for you. You started. You are producing. You are getting the kinds of revenue that can attract for the country. Are you trying to tell me that Kwame Jantua sitting at the Ministry of Energy, you won't come and give me gratis? Every year. You won't come and give me gratis. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Because that is the way the African is. The African will always appreciate someone who has helped them. Yeah, there are few of them who won't, but majority of them will. And so, for me, I believe that certain things that we find in Africa, and you know, when you haven't traveled to other parts of the continent, you don't see the worth of Ghana. When you haven't traveled to other parts of the continent, you don't see the worth of Ghana. The way other African countries look to Ghana, you'll be surprised. You will be surprised. They take from us and use for their economy. Today, you know, government has put in a system where procurement is concerned called GANEPS.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
So government is saying that any procurement that is done in this country has to go through GANEPS. GANEPS is going to be linked with GIFMIX. So if you didn't go through GANEPS, there's no way you'll be paid and you can't do anything out of GANEPS. You know, countries are beginning to come in to ask us because the World Bank is supporting GANEPS, and the World Bank is going out and telling other countries, Ghana has got a system where
you probably should emulate.
Procurement is concerned, and it is good and it's working. So maybe you should look at it. They are now trooping in to come and get from us, tuition from us. The same thing happened with our Petroleum Revenue Management Act for the oil industry. When we put it together, countries started coming in to see what Ghana is doing. So there are some good things we have done. No two ways about it. Yes, where the oil industry is concerned, one of the major mistakes we made was to do it back to front. And then going forward, we realized there were certain things that we should have done that we didn't do. And we now had to correct it with the Exploration and Petroleum Act, the mother act for the oil industry. But it was how many years after discovery?
Okay, Mr. Antwa, let me let you catch your breath because I've been on your case the last 40 or so minutes. And so let's go to the telephone line.
I hope I've made sense.
Oh, yes, you have. Let's go to the telephone line. And there is Atu Abasa. He's the head of corporate communications, Tech Gulf Ghana Brains. Tech Gulf Ghana. They are the brains behind the processing plant for lithium. And he is on the telephone line currently. Atu, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And thank you very much for joining us. We are being told that this the Ghana Minerals Lease Agreement with Barari Ghana Limited is arguably the best mining lease post-independence. Is this an assertion that you would subscribe to?
Well, the truth of the fact is, well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be on the show. And thank you to come in the studio as well. I had a chance to listen when I was told I would be called. Yes. I usually want to refrain from commenting about the very subjective thought that this is the best. Why? Because I would say that who says it is best may depend on quite a number of factors that you and I may not be objectively involved. Yes. Again, is it the best because we come into a plethora of mediocre deals across the continent? Or is it the best because it is the best for Ghana and Ghanaians? Yes. So often based on these questions, which are left unanswered, I often would not love to comment about it, but in there, I believe, is an answer to your question. Yes.
Indeed, and I understand perfectly. But paint a picture for us. What is going into the establishment of this lithium refinery in our country? What is going to be the basis? What is going into it? What are the full composition of that part of this agreement, which I believe you have expertise in?
Yes, thank you. For lithium refinement and processing, as ReElement Ghana and Tech Gulf want to establish here in Ghana, which becomes Ghana's first and Africa's first as well on the continent. The truth of the fact is, it's a very private business venture, but it requires a lot of that support because of this existing deal that exists between Atlantic Lithium, Barari, and the government of Ghana. Yes, this establishment relatively is the next step in the value chain of EV production here in Ghana, and also the reinforcement of renewable sources of energy that could be tapped into the national grid, especially for communities around the refinery. And the refinery, as stipulated, would be somewhere around Elmina. Yes. So this is how the conversation is playing out now. And the good news here is that this becomes a solution to the loud cry by the public, maybe about the deal, and the exports that will be going out, which will be raw lithium ore that is mined, that may be going out, probably to China for processing. But right here in Ghana, by Ghanaians for Africa, would be a processing up to battery grade that is usable by any battery production company. And that means that this becomes the basis for the drawing in of a battery production company. And that becomes a very huge step where now the automotive industry who assemble things here would therefore need this battery to also be confident about starting their EV assembly productions here in Ghana, yes.
Okay, so quite interesting details, but you know this refinery thing. My guest who been in the studio had talked about the fact that we have gotten to a point where we should rather be having indigenous Ghanaian companies being the ones, or even government being the ones building this refinery, instead of relying on foreigners to come and build a refinery. Or he's saying that either we use government or we use joint venture approaches to do the construction of these refineries and all that. He thinks that just foreigners coming in to do these refineries does not augur well for us. Can you tell us from where you sit what kind of partnership is going to this construction of the refinery that you say will be in Elmina, and whether or not it's joint venture or it is going to be a purely foreign-owned entity?
Thank you. Yes, the details I would now be able to spell out to you. There has been a proposal which is on the table actually now as we speak to be considered by an agency of the state. Okay, yes. The reason being that two things. So TechGulf is actually a local partner, a direct local company here in Ghana that brought ReElement in. The basis for this is that the enterprise is huge and collaboration is always the best way forward, especially because the technology that ReElement brings is technology that is first class, it's brand new, it is not second-hand technology that is going to be used here. I have seen the technology in Indiana in the United States, and it operates even close to a church. That tells you how eco-friendly it is. And number two, the purity of the processing is up to 99.9%. This is something that even China does not have as we speak, which is averaging the closest purity about 96%. So it tells us that collaboration with any entity, whether foreign or local, doesn't matter. But I assure you that in this MOU and agreement going forward into January of 2024, there's already a plan to have a training facility. And in there, the training facility would train persons with the right skills to be able to use the technology that is coming for the refinery mid-2025. However, between mid-2024 and mid-2025, together with the University of Mines and Technology, another local university, and in that local university partnership is another international university partnership, Purdue University. Here they're looking at the technology and the expertise and the requirements any Ghanaian who has been an engineer around this conversation of lithium or precious minerals is trained. For us, we look at this collaboration genuinely as a 50-50 enterprise so that this can boost Ghana's revenue without a lot of lithium ore in its raw state after being mined, taken out of Ghana. But at the same time, mind you, Atlantic Lithium's deal, as I have read, would take effect in operations by 2026. So if you have a refinery that is set up by 2025 in its full capacity, then you know that we are more prepared for value addition than just exporting it raw. Mind you, prices of lithium ore have fallen by the ton, and a very sharp fall at that matter. The value in here to make sure we actualize $4.8 billion annually would be a refinery. Also, the refinery is serving literally an entire scope of Africa. So we're looking at feedstock that is coming from Rwanda, and that deal has already been signed with the President Paul Kagame. We are looking at feedstock from Zimbabwe, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, and Senegal. Yes, so these are 5 major places where Ghana is strategically positioned because of our 2 ports, Tema and Takoradi. And the training facility will be near Takoradi. Therefore, let's jump in, let's collaborate. But at the end of the day, so long as ReElement and TechGulf are not interested in mining, it is our hope that mining licenses could be given eventually to some locals and local businesses that can actually be involved in environmentally friendly mining. Then we know that we have enough feedstock that will feed the refinery to battery grade, and then your EV chain becomes clearer. Also, there would be energy, renewable source of energy as we tap solar into battery that will be fed hopefully into the national grid. And therefore, entities around the MENA will be able to have enough power beyond what we are producing at the moment as a country. Yes.
So very interesting details you are putting out there. Mr. Jantua wants to ask you a question. He's one of my guests in the studio. He wants to ask a question before I ask you my last question to wrap up.
Atu.
Hello, Senior. I salute you.
Thank you, sir. Atu, the details you've given us are very interesting. But don't you think, because of what you've just said, and because of the plans going forward between now and 2025, isn't this the time for us to now look at how we look at the new areas where we can exploit lithium? And shouldn't this be led by the Geological Survey Department, where once we get the refinery in place, because we've gone out there to look at all the different sites where we can get lithium, it adds quantum in terms of refining lithium, and not only from one source. I believe this should be the time, and it should be in your plan, where we go out there and look at the other areas where we can find lithium. Don't you think that would be a good idea?
Mr. Dato, please come again. There's some echo, and I'm struggling to hear you. I apologize.
Yes, I was saying that with all what you've told us, between now and 2025, we have Ewoyaa as the main source of producing lithium for the refinery. And I'm asking, isn't this the time for us to say to ourselves, let's invest heavily in Geological Survey Department, for Geological Survey Department to go across the country to see where all these lithium deposits are, so that we can even give licenses to Ghanaian companies to mine lithium for the mine and not only depend on Ewoyaa. Don't you think it is something we should look at now? And don't you think it is something that should be in the plan that you just narrated to us?
Well, honestly, I think what you're asking is the best thing to do, the best practice in the right order. Yes. So I know for sure that in conversations that I've heard, I know that the conversation that I've had, the conversation that I've heard states clearly that there are further exploration across Ghana that determines, and I know for sure that it has been identified that there's a whole line that moves from Ewoya all the way to the west towards Fua. And so it's more like an exploration line that has been discovered. Yes, and this was discovered as far back as 2018. Yes, and further exploration is ongoing as we speak in 2023. Yes.
Okay, so I believe the inquiry by Mr. Jatua has been dealt with, but just as I let you go, I just wanted you, for the avoidance of doubt, to educate our listeners and viewers that this refinery, how is it going to work? What's the process? So you mine from the Ewoya reserves, and then what happens? It is transported to the mine. The process that is done there, what is done, and after that, what is left of the product and all that. Just take us through that value chain from the mining all the way to the processing at the refinery.
Okay, so at the refinery, thank you. There will be some technical jargons I won't want to bore you about. I'll leave that to some chemists and some engineers who will be focused solely on the actual work within the refinery. But at the refinery would be feedstock of spodumene that we get from anyone who's got access to spodumene, okay, or lithium ore. That is what we need as the raw material to be refined. So we get that from any part of Africa at the moment, especially by the time where Ghana would not have gone commercial with Atlantic Lithium mining lithium ore from here. From there, it goes through a process through our new technology that is being used in Indiana as we speak, and also to be set up in Germany. It goes through there, and as I mentioned, is one of the cleanest with recyclable water that constantly feeds into the refinery to help with the refinement of lithium ore. Right after that, then we know that we have battery grade level that goes straight into any battery producer for electric vehicles or for renewable energy storage. And then they get to use it to produce batteries. In the long chain of conversation, this is already inviting some battery producers to come into Ghana. Mind you, ReElement is part of a group of companies called American Resources that are masters of rare earth minerals and renewable energy. Therefore, these companies have been attracted from all over the world, especially because of its existence on NASDAQ and listing on NASDAQ. These ones will now come into Ghana, hopefully with the best practice, and then we produce batteries here. When you have batteries here, now every EV producer, you can mention Tesla, anyone from the United States and Europe, would put their eyes to the conversation here, and you have a lot of businesses there for ongoing. Already the refinery is set to produce about 3,000 jobs, direct and indirect, in Ghana already. And I've heard a conversation with another agency or company called eMotion Africa that is already assembling electric efficient bikes here somewhere in Suhu. Yes. So the business is just going to enlarge because of the future demand that will be set on electric vehicles. Yes. And the achievement of those SDG blocks that Ghana needs to reach. And I believe that is where government's interest lies, in producing more jobs, creating an environmentally friendly country and creating an economically friendly country for everybody to operate in. Yes.
Okay, and so lastly, Mr. Jantua has a follow-up, and then I'll allow you to go. So, Mr. Jantua.
Ato, could you tell us what's the electricity demand for the factory, and what power source is the factory going to run on? Probably initially it will be conventional, but going forward, would it still rely on conventional since it's doing batteries? What's the demand of electricity? Because that also has a reflection on our electricity generation.
Yes. So the demand on electricity in itself, as I mentioned, would be that we actually would set up this factory strictly with solar energy. So the demand is not, one, it's not so high in itself. Number two, it would not be a demand on our national grid. However, with all the energy that we produce from solar, we are happy to feed it into the national grid because there'll be excesses. And that we know for sure because of the operations all the way in Indiana. Yes.
So can I say that it is a potential for Ghana to look at manufacturing solar panels so that we don't have to rely on imports, especially if we can have another, depending on the quantity of lithium we have in the country, we can have another mine somewhere else, let's say in the upper east or upper west?
Yes. And we already see that happening, except that the plan is moving according to certain steps. And as much as we have government involvement because our doors are open, we met the Vice President to sincerely speak. This was last week, Friday. Yes. And he pledged support in every aspect where development is proposed from us to the people of Ghana. Yes. And it has been welcomed by him. He is looking forward to us setting up here in Ghana and continue with the training facility, and will be strictly monitored by our word in the MOU with the University of Mines and Technology, and see how the two of us collaborate well. And that will be the confidence that we are who we say we are, and will do what exactly we say we will do. Yes.
Okay, so did I hear you say that the raw material, which is bitumen, that you will be required in this refinery, you could get some also from Rwanda, from Zimbabwe, from Ivory Coast, Nigeria, and Senegal?
Yes. That's where we've already had conversations, and we already have signed deals with Rwanda to get some lithium ore from there. Yes. We've done Senegal as well. We're exploring Nigeria. Yeah.
What about the Congo, which seems to have the largest deposits of lithium?
Oh yes. Now let me say this: we bank our hopes on Zimbabwe, but we are very calculative with Zimbabwe. You know why? There is an entity called Levista and CAA Mining that also have come together with an agenda to also set up a lithium processing plant here by 2026. You get the drift. So already in Ghana's landscape, there'll be more than one refinery by 2026, which is good. It is good. And CAA is owned by a very wealthy Zimbabwean billionaire, yes, who resides and operates from London. Yes.
Okay.
And this has been established as far back as February 2023.
Okay. Ato, yes. We really want to thank you for your insights into this matters. Ato Abasa is the head of corporate communications, TechGov Ghana. They are the brains behind the processing plant for lithium, and he joined us there on the telephone line. Thank you very much, Ato. Let me come back.
I'm grateful.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, so two of my guests have also joined me now, and I will establish presence with them as I read some messages from Facebook. So Abdul Basit Mahama is on Facebook. He says that the question about local participation as against foreign in refining lithium is impractical and unrealistic. Building a refinery is an undeniable business decision founded on profitability, access to competitively priced funding sources, and general cost of running business, including electricity, water, etc. Such decisions are therefore not nationalistic nor sentimental, but based on the bottom line. Who bans local entrepreneurs from investing their own money all these years in exploration and prospecting? Who bars them from investing in visibility studies? So he goes on to say that we don't want to take risk, but want to get the biggest cut when the coast seems clear. Mahama in Ashaman. Thank you, Mahama, for your message. I think your point is something that I was also trying to articulate. Mango says that good morning, Wilberforce. Lawyer Janto's submissions are on point with regard to the capabilities of the Ghanaian, but he should cast his mind back to what happened in Ghana's entrepreneurs or Ghanaian entrepreneurs in 1979 and 1981. The likes of Apino Soup, Tata Brewery, and then Bunsu Ties, and etc. So that's Mango's to you, yes, Mr. Jantua.
Yes, but the thing is, we have gone through that. We have learned from it. I don't think going forward, Ghana would even be interested in anybody trying to do a military coup to bring us back. So we have gone through it. The fact that we shouldn't be so sure doesn't mean that we would not stop it or will not try to stop it. Yeah, you see, well, the thing is that where the private sector is concerned, it's only through the private sector that Ghanaians can participate. We've learned our lessons from the 60s to date.
Okay,
I don't think we would want to go back
to that. Okay, so let me just announce that lawyer Gloria Ofori-Buedu, she's a private legal practitioner, managing legal. So what I'm seeing here, it says was GOB at law. Madam, I'm sorry, I don't really get the details correctly, but you are here. So good morning to you, madam.
They have it. They have it on the.
I think we need to get your microphone a bit more closer to you. Yes. So
they have it on the poster. So read what is on.
So what is on the poster is managing legal practitioner, GOB at law. Okay. So what is GOB?
Those are my initials.
Oh, okay. So that's the name of your law firm.
It's GOB Law Consult.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So I just wanted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. So, madam, thank you for coming, and it's good to see you. Good morning. And then Nick Bakpo Samoa Ado is a private legal practitioner as well. He is a member of the National Democratic Congress and a lecturer at the Gempa Law Faculty. Good morning to you, Ni.
Yeah, good morning.
And thank you for coming. All right. So there's a message here that I just read, and then I'll come to both of you to pick your thoughts on the first topic, and then we'll move to the next topic. All right. So our leaders, this is Kwesi JC, who says that our leaders are simply a bunch of lazy old folks who can't reason beyond the next election. They would rather spend our resources on vehicles and siphon the rest through dubious contracts. If we are a serious nation, we will resource the Geological Survey Department to be able to conduct proper research to identify what resources we have and in what quantities. Government can then encourage some of our top businessmen to come together and form a consortium in partnership with governments to mine the resources. That way, the money stays here. That is how others have created billionaires. We are simply lazy.
I've already said that, didn't I?
Okay. All right. So let me start with you, madam. We've been talking about the lithium industry. We've talked a lot about the proposal as has been put there, the agreement, the contractual arrangement between the government of Ghana, Barari, DV. We've talked about the refinery options and what have you. I want to pick your thoughts about what you make of the conclusion that has been made by government officials and also Minerals Commission officials that arguably this mineral concession or this minerals lease agreement we have entered to is the best mining lease post-independence?
I wouldn't want to give my opinion on that as yet, but I just want to say that the lithium industry is an industry, particularly for the future, with the proliferation of Tesla cars and all the, what do you call it, electric cars coming up. And also it's also used in laptops and other devices.
Mobile phones.
Yes, what we are holding. So
planes.
So it's interesting. For many years, we didn't even know Africa had lithium, but now Nigeria, Ghana, and a few others have come up to join
Rwanda,
the Australians, and the Zimbabwe, Chilis, who were seen as having the highest deposits. So I'll give my opinion later.
Okay. But we are, because we have already.
We just came, so let's get into the discussion.
Oh no, we've been doing it. We actually ran out of time.
Want to give an opinion.
Okay, all right, Ni. Let me. Your party has said that they think the agreement is not in the best interest of the country, and for that matter, the people of Ghana. Beyond that rhetoric, what are the real details for which reason the party is saying that?
It's not just rhetoric. There's a fundamental question that must be asked. And greetings to our various listeners. The fundamental question that must always be asked is whether any agreement for the exploitation of our natural resources is in the best interest of our country, especially based on our history and what we are now seeing. I hope you saw the paper issued by the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences on the state of the danger that we face when it comes to the unregulated galamsey activities in Ghana and the impact on our environment, among others. This is a clear and present danger to us. And I hope a lot of people will take time to read that paper. It's a very, very important paper.
Do you have it?
It's circulating. Now, if I find it again, I'll forward it to you. It's a very, very important paper. And so, anytime we have discovered any new resource, we have a duty to find out whether the kind of structures we have put in, will adequately see to it that the nation benefits, not individuals benefit, but the nation benefits. So when the NDC asks a fundamental question, whether this agreement is in the national interest, that should be the first and fundamental question. One of our biggest criticisms of this agreement is the lack of consultation with stakeholders. That there has not been extensive stakeholder consultation.
So stakeholders such as
the communities that will be impacted. You understand? CSOs. Look at the outcry that has come from all, and I'm happy that this time round, a lot of the CSOs, including religious bodies and others, Office of the National Chief Imam, Catholic Bishop Secretariat, and all others, are coming together to point out to the government that this deal that they have signed is not the best deal Ghana could possibly have gotten on the table, and that it needs to be reviewed. That is fundamental, so that it shows that there was a lack of consultation before the terms of the agreement were put together. That's one of the first issues. Now let's go to the specifics of the agreement. If you notice, the requirement in the mining lease agreement for the establishment of a chemical plant to process our lithium locally is very weak. That's one of the first fundamental questions that the NDC points out. And why does it say so? Because yes, everybody knows that processing a raw material always adds value. But if the structure you put in place is not the best for you to be able to extract the maximum benefit that you get from it, then you have a problem.
So what would the NDC rather require? The government contract says
hold
that.
On.
Okay.
This is what they say. That we note with concern that under Schedule 2 of the lease agreement, the establishment of a local chemical plant by the company is not mandatory. If you say you want to enhance and what's the word? The popular word that is used is.
Can you read that again? What you just read?
So number one, we note with concern that under Schedule 2 of the lease agreement, the establishment of a local chemical plant by the company is not mandatory. This is the agreement between Ghana and Barari DV. You say that you want to what? You want to refine lithium. You want to the point that there's a word that is used that I'm missing here. That's the word.
You say you want to process the raw
You
material.
want to process the raw material. Exactly. You want to process the raw material. And you say you are going to establish what? A chemical plant to process the lithium locally. And yet you don't make it a mandatory clause in the agreement.
I thought it is mandatory.
It is not. Look at Schedule 2. But it is contingent on the conduct of a scoping study to determine the economic viability of the processing of lithium in Ghana.
And that's not the understanding that I got.
Yes, because yes. So that is why you should read the finalize. Look at the Schedule 2. It is not. It is based. So you see, there's an intention to establish. Do you understand? There's an intention to establish, but that intention is not mandatory. So if the language was that, the company must establish a lithium plant, regardless of whatever considerations. But you put in the agreement that, oh, you have an intention of establishing a local chemical plant to what? To process the lithium locally. But it is contingent on the conduct of a scoping study to determine the economic viability of the processing of lithium in Ghana. If you haven't assessed in what country would an investor who is not being made a mandatory requirement to process his raw material not want to export? It is because we have been exporting our raw materials every time. That is why we have come to the realization that when you refine it, you get more. So, for example, we export gold to Dubai, but Dubai makes 3, 4, 5 times on the same gold that we have exported. So we come to the common sense that no, if we set up a refinery plant in Ghana to refine our gold, we will make more money. We want to encourage Ghanaians to buy the finished product.
So can you hold on? No. What I know is that the government says that in the agreement, it does not intend that any of the raw materials that are the raw or
is good,
no, let me finish. Let me finish my preamble. Then you can answer. The government says that it's not going to allow the exploration of lithium and the export of it in its raw state. That fundamentally should tell you that you must, of a necessity, build a refinery.
No, you see, there's an intention. There's a difference between an intention, you understand, and a mandatory clause that says that whether or not. So the point is this: you set up. Why do we set up a sugar plant when we talk about this place? What's the name of this town? Where we set
Commander.
up Commander. Why are we talking about establishing these industries? Because we want to what? Refine the raw material. Because everybody knows that there's added value when you refine. So if we have learned that lesson for all our other sectors of the economy, why are we not making it mandatory in this agreement that regardless of whatever you think, whatever the economic viability, we will establish the company as part of this thing must establish the lithium plant, regardless of whatever the issues.
Okay, so we'll try and get clarification on that from the Minerals Commission.
It says that paragraphs 1B, C, and D of Schedule 2 of the lease envisages the inability of the company to meet this requirement. And so this makes nonsense of the claim by government that no raw lithium will be exported from Ghana under the agreement. So there's an intention. But it is not the point that you say that if it is economically viable, you undertake a study. And if it's economically viable, then you set up the plant. Of course, if I'm an investor and I want to cut my losses, I'll tell you that I'll pay for the study and tell you that it is not economically viable. Make it mandatory. That is one of the criticisms the NDC has had on that agreement. Make it mandatory. That is why you need stakeholder consultation. You don't know it all. So when you go around, then others will input into the lease agreement for you.
Okay,
I'm happy it's going.
Bassett on Facebook says that NI is being economical with facts on building the refinery. There is a caveat in the schedule. He should read it. He's being emotionally sentimental.
Why?
The refinery is a business decision.
Valco. Why did Kwame Nkrumah insist on Valco? You think Kwame Nkrumah was stupid not to have Valco there? You think that when he was negotiating, he didn't know why he wanted Valco there? Why did we have Valco? Every raw material that you produce, it is always at your disadvantage as the country that is exporting if you don't refine. It's a basic common sense approach. And we have learned that. So when you have an agreement that doesn't make it mandatory, your agreement doesn't make sense. Next point. There is no specific provision in the mining lease that emphasizes Ghana's control over the lithium mining value chain and the benefits thereof. 1. In the extractive sector, the ability of a country to optimize gains from the value chain is the surest way of domesticating the benefits, because you must have local participation. And you must have a dominant role in that. By whatever structure or agreement, however you structure the agreement, you must play a dominant role in it. That's why GNPC plays a dominant role in our oil sector. Why don't we leave it for, foreigners to dominate the entire oil sector? But we kind of reserve certain portions and even empower GNPC, including taking loans, to take an active part, so that when foreign companies fail us, we ask GNPC to take over and give them money. Because we know that the local player must be part and parcel of what is going on. And that is why we set up the MIIF. We didn't set them up to go and buy sky trains and waste our money.
But they say that they are participating in this deal equally. They are investing about $32 million. That is myth, as you mentioned.
The NDC wants a deal that provides a clear and unambiguous strategy for maximizing the benefits of lithium mining through value chain participation. There is therefore the need for a mandatory requirement for the local processing of raw lithium before it is exported out of the country, and 100% off-taker for the byproducts thereof, like silica, Kalion, amongst others, for local industries and manufacturing companies. The agreement as it stands now is not to our benefit when it comes to these important things.
So there's a Facebook message for you, Nee. Why is VALCO on its knees now? Refineries are not tourist attractions, nor national pride matters. They exist to make profits. That's Mahama.
If a government can spend $100 and something million this week to pay judgment debt, it means we have the money. We have the money. Ministers not writing letters so that we have judgment debt. We are able to sink 200 billion cedis into a cathedral. We have the money. We just don't know what to do with our money. We have the most expensive hole in Africa as at the moment. In fact, the whole world, the most expensive hole.
Okay, so it looks like Madam is boiling to make a comment on it.
Madam, please.
I just think that we should focus.
No, but we are focused. Yes, but Madam. You said he said there's no money, and I'm saying that if they're talking about VALCO is on his knees, and I'm saying VALCO is on his knees, but this week we have had money to pay judgment debt. We have money to pump into National Cathedral. The most expensive hole in the country with nothing to show for it.
Are we not deviating?
We are not deviating. He said we don't have money. That's why I'm telling you that we have the money. We just have misplaced priorities.
Let's look at.
Let me proceed.
Oh, you have.
No, I'm still on. That if you want to come in, you can come in, though.
Well, I would say that it's something worth celebrating. For many years, we didn't even know we had lithium, and we thought it was just the Chilis and the Australians and the Chinas who have it. Now we have discovered that we have lithium. It's something that we should go to the grassroots and explain to them about, it's a green and it's a sustainable form of mineral, and it's something that is looking at the future. We can participate in the global value chain. However, as of now, we've been informed that we do not have much of our legs in there or our foot in there. China has all these deposits, and the other countries which are leading. Australia is one of them. Now, with their support, then we can also look at the future. So at the moment, we have future plans as a country to develop a Ghana lithium company, and we also have future plans as a country to look at a Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation. That is the GIADC, and then the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation, GISDEC. However, the volume, I'm reading from the press release from the ministry. However, the volumes of the mineral we have currently, the volumes of the mineral we have currently, and our quest to ensure optimal benefit from the exploitation of the mineral option is not feasible for several reasons. So when you are looking at a project, you have to do a feasibility report. Is it feasible to spring up the infrastructure for a mining company now, looking at the volumes of lithium we have? No, the answer is no. And which taxpayer will sit there and allow a country that, irrespective of a feasibility report, to go along and then put up structures. Feasibility is not feasible to have those structures now. And I believe that we have to explain. We owe it a duty as lawyers, as stakeholders, as media practitioners to explain to the populace, the taxpayers, that it's not feasible to have the structures here to, to process the lithium, okay, because we do not have the volumes of the minerals. And our quest to ensure optimal benefit for the exploitation of this mineral makes that option not feasible. We have future plans as a country, but as of now, it's not feasible.
No, I think
You can't answer by saying not
point of order.
We have to get into the global value chain because we are very late already.
Point of order.
We are very late already.
No,
So if you are late, you don't sit down and fold your
disagree with
hands,
you.
but you enter the value
You
chain
don't tell-
and see how you can fit in. Because now we are even looking at a 30% local content participation.
We'll come to that one. That
and
one
then
is
our
on-
existing laws
Yeah.
also give us the opportunity
Ni
to
na
at
ye
least
PR.
go to about 19% and later
Ni
to
na ye PR,
30%
madam.
participation
Point of order.
in mining. So please, let's be realistic. Let's look at the
You just confirmed what I said.
feasibility now.
Okay,
the
the
feasibility.
Madam is talking about feasibility.
But you
What's
said
the
you
point of
declared
order?
that
I'll come
there's
to you,
and
Niba.
all of a sudden he
Point
said there's
of
no
order.
I'll come back to you, yes,
Point of
Mr.
order.
Santua.
We have crossed that line where we don't want to take risk as a country.
Exactly.
If you want to mine the minerals that you have,
Yes.
you've got to take risk.
With whose
You
money?
can't wait without money.
Otherwise, why do we have
Without
house?
money, why?
Yes,
What
do
is
we
wrong?
have-
With the country's
You
money.
want
we
somebody
have
else.
taxpayers'
You want
money.
wait. You want somebody else to take the
Can we
risk.
take the risk
You want
to
tax.
do,
You want somebody
what do you
else to
call it?
take the risk.
National Cathedral.
And when they
Doesn't
take the
make
risk,
business
when they take the risk,
National
you
Cathedral
want to
business.
share
No, I'm not
50.
talking
Okay,
about
hold on.
for
Sorry.
national
Hold on, we are not hearing
You
anybody.
want
Yes.
you want somebody else to take the risk, and then you now want to share 50-50 with the
Exactly.
person. How does that work out? You should take calculated risk. You should be strategic in the risk you take. If we know we have lithium, look, lithium has other mimicking minerals that we can go into. And if we do not give Geological Survey Department the money to go out there and explore, do reconnaissance for us to see the kind of minerals we have, how do we take a concerted risk? How? So it is us. We are pointing the fingers at that company to bring money in. 3 fingers are pointing back at us, telling us, do the right thing.
But Mr. Jantua, you are talking as it were as if Ghana has some huge financial resources
But
to
you have
follow
money
It is
upon.
to buy
planning.
you have money
It
to
is
to build
planning.
National Cathedral. That's the problem.
It is
I
planning.
have a
How
problem.
much money is being used to build the National
Are
Cathedral?
you asking me? That money cannot be pumped into.
No, I'm only asking you how
I
much
am
money
telling-
is
I
being
am
used to
telling
build
you
the
that
National Cathedral.
When you have
I
a government,
think,
when you have a government that has misplaced priorities, and is able to pay judgment debt, some of the things we are not angry about. This country, some of the decisions that have been taken by this country and this government, we have not been angry about.
Now,
We
is
keep
it-
quiet.
is it the first government that has paid judgment debt?
That is not the issue. The issue is that if we are serious about some of the things and we are deliberate about it, we will hold people accountable. We make it look like it is okay for us to, and we don't want to ask the hard questions. We don't want to hold government accountable, and so this government gets away with literally everything.
You are a lawyer.
Governments in the Fourth
hold on,
Republic.
Mr. Jantua,
Governments
please
in
hold
the
on.
Fourth
I am
Republic.
talking about this particular government.
You are a lawyer.
Republic.
You are a lawyer. What are the legal obligations that arise on
You
a
see,
government
we
when?
make it
Let
look-
me finish.
I'm coming.
Let me finish. What are the legal obligations that arise on a government when a judgment debt is awarded against it?
How did the judgment? Who are you holding accountable? You put people before court for cases like the ambulances and others. So what prevents you from holding the people who took those decisions also accountable?
That's a different
It
matter.
is not a different.
Holding
it is
people
about-
accountable.
It is about the hypocritical way we go about holding people accountable in this country.
So
when
people,
it is our government, we close our eyes.
say
We
somebody.
bastardize past governments and then we project our own as if they do no wrong. My point is this. When I hear people tell me that Ghana does not have money, okay, and I look and I drive past that, what do you call it, that hole at next to Parliament House, then I get angry. Do you understand? Because that hole should not be there. If we pump money into that hole, you cannot tell me that Ghana does not have money. That is my problem. When you tell me that Ghana does not have money, let's all cut our coat.
Are we not pumping money?
Excuse me. I think the concentration is too much on the negatives. Let's not be populist here. We came here to speak about lithium.
Oh, but
now,
I'm
if
coming
the
to my next
National
point.
Cathedral has come in, let's look at it. What is the history of the National Cathedral? The National Cathedral was set up with a board and with the intention that individuals will contribute.
Madam, are you really repeating this one?
I'm repeating it.
You're repeating this
Please,
one?
we gave you so many minutes. You're just going on and on.
Oh, but are you repeating this one?
I just don't want us
You're actually
to.
defending
The
National
National
Cathedral.
Cathedral was purported, okay, and the concept was that individuals will contribute to it. I know that there have been fundraising in churches, there have been fundraising amongst individuals, there have been fundraising amongst the greater population who are Christians to build the cathedral. That I know. So I don't believe that.
What
the
about the
cathedral
Ghanaian taxpayers'
is being
money?
funded by
Madam,
government.
you are in the
No,
face
no,
of
no.
evidence that
We
Ghana
know
has
we know
put
that
money inside.
there's
You are
a
still denying that.
public involvement, a church.
What is the public involvement?
a
The
Christian
government gave a
involvement.
seed fund.
Of how much?
That's what you are talking
Of
about.
how much?
You should tell us.
How much
So
has
let's
been-
not
I'm not a journalist,
misinform
you are the
the
journalist.
public.
How much has been spent? How much of Ghana's money
we
has
are
been spent?
interested in campaigning for the respective parties. I believe that we should not misinform the public.
Yes,
we
yes.
owe it a duty.
That Ghanaian
to
money
be
has not
fair
gone into
and
the
to
National
inform the
Cathedral.
public
What
and
is the
be truthful.
misinformation?
We know that there have been fundraising from the churches, from the Christian.
So Ghana
population,
government money is
and
not
even
inside.
The board also includes some Christians.
This
So
why-
let's
this
look
why-
at that
this why-
and let's look
let's
at the
move on.
way forward.
Let's move on.
Because
Let's
we
move on.
stand to benefit if that cathedral is put into place.
Okay,
for
so
posterity.
let's come out from cathedral.
let's come back from cathedral.
Let me read these two messages and then I'll allow you to continue as we wrap up on lithium because lithium
I'm
has
going
taken
to
all
the
the time.
35%.
Because you didn't come early,
No problem.
so lithium
No
has
problem.
taken all the time.
No problem.
But there's this message, George Ampofo. George Ampofo says that, please, Wilberforce, NIS concerns about the refinery is wrong. The Minerals Commission boss has explained and talked about this
it
and
mandatory?
clarified.
That is all
so,
that I'm asking.
So
Is it
there's
mandatory?
there is Basit who says that the lease agreement is pretty simple. If one wants to be objective, it says determined if it's prudent.
Exactly.
It says determined
no,
if it is prudent. Let me finish. If it's prudent for you for the company to set up its own refinery.
so-
If not, any local company can set up a refinery and mine
You are
is
giving your
required
asset
to
away.
sell the ore
Hey,
to
listen,
such a
You are
refinery.
giving your asset away, and you are not making it mandatory. You after how many years of mining, you have come to the realization that mining and exporting your raw material does not benefit your economy. You need to refine the product. That is a lesson you've learned the hard way over years, 100 years of mining, and you come to the conclusion that I need to refine the product. And you make it not mandatory for the company that is coming after all the concessions you've given the company. You are saying that it still retains the right to determine whether or not it is economically viable to set up.
But that is the company.
No.
But
Let's be realistic.
yeah.
If you are in project management, before you undertake a project as an
Then
individual,
don't mind.
as a corporation,
Then don't
as
buy
a
the lithium.
country,
Leave the
you
lithium
have
in the
to-
ground.
Hold on.
You have to look at these specifics. The project must be specific. The SMART, we call it the SMART principle. It must be measurable. Okay, it must be achievable. It must be realistic. Let me repeat. Realistic. We can even replace realistic with feasible. Realistic, and it must be time bound. Now, these are the 5 principles when it comes to a project or project management.
And
If you are
you
looking,
need to do a SWOT.
and if you are looking at this, is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it achievable? Is it realistic? If we do not have deposits which makes it feasible for us to have the infrastructure here for a refinery, then why don't we wait and plan for the future when we believe that it is realistic?
Before we start,
Okay.
let's not allow them to exploit
no,
first.
No.
Okay.
No, but you have to get your foot in
but
there.
that is what they are going to
You
do.
have the deposits.
That's what
you
they're
have
going to
the
do.
value. You have to. There's a global value chain. You came in late. Do you sit there and fold your hands and say, okay, let's wait. If in 100 years we are able to fit
Let me
here
deal with
and
the
there,
10%
then you
royalty.
can
Let me
come.
deal
No,
with
we
the
have to
10%
do it
royalty.
now.
Yes.
Let
But
me
we
deal with
have
the
to look
10%
at the
royalty.
feasibility.
Let me deal with that. I just
So
have 2 more
don't
points.
agree
Yes,
with
need
it.
2 points.
I
Two
don't
points, then I'm done.
agree with
Yes,
it.
madam. I agree that you don't agree with
Based on the
it. It's
principle.
fine.
No
It's
problem.
not me, it's the principle.
It's a
The
principle.
government
Apply it.
boasts of a 10% royalty under the deal. You said that this is the NDC's position. That it is worthy of note that the prevailing royalty rate of 5% was based on Section 25 of the Mineral and Mining Act 2007, Act 703, which provides for a royalty rate of not less than 3% and not more than 6%. The law was amended by the erstwhile NDC Mahama government as far back as 2015 by Act 900, which has made the royalty rate open-ended and subject to negotiation. So it is not like you are bound to go 10%. If your negotiation skills are good, you can go higher than that, because now we've opened it up. Another point is that also the prevailing industry royalty rate of 5% relates to the country's traditional minerals such as gold and bauxite. The Barari Lithium Agreement is the first deal for the exploitation of a green mineral in Ghana. Therefore, comparing the prevailing royalty rate of 5% to a 10% royalty rate for a green mineral like lithium is an exercise in what? Mediocrity. More importantly, we need the government should have opted for a flexible range of royalty rates which takes into account windfall profits of the company. This royalty arrangement has been adopted by, for example, Chile, which currently has a royalty rate range of 8 to 21%, depending on certain variables. In similar vein, the 10% royalty rate secured by the government could have been the baseline rate, subject to upward adjustments in case of windfall revenue or profit by the company if the government had negotiated properly.
So irrespective of corporate taxes that they are paying,
we come to the corporate taxes.
Of
the
all
corporate
those
taxes
things.
is the West. Let me come to the issue of the corporate taxes. That's even the West.
We shouldn't compare ourselves to Chile.
Hey, madam,
Chile has the highest.
you don't compare yourself to the best industry rates.
Let's look at our deposit level so far. Chile has the highest. We are nowhere near that.
Chile has the 40%
Let's be
of
realistic.
the world's global deposit.
Let's be realistic.
5% and coming to tell us that you've got 10%, and you are not even talking about. So, for example, if tomorrow, the price of lithium goes maybe at 200, something happens, and it goes maybe 200% in.
What about if it falls?
So that is why your negotiation must take that into account.
Because you can't look at it.
Why are you only interested in looking at when it falls and you are not looking at when they make abnormal?
So in the case that NDC was in office, what's the percentage you would have negotiated for? In light of, it's not enough to say you negotiate better. It's not sufficient.
Percentage.
No,
a progressive percentage.
Hold on.
Saying that it will be variable.
Okay. In light of the fact that there are global best practices when it comes to royalties. Global best practices. I'm not talking about Chile. I'm talking about global best practices.
Yes.
That if you sum up all the global royalty things, where everybody is charging, if you sum all of it up and you are coming to an average, what would NDC have done?
We said you should make the 10% the baseline and have it made such that it's a variable rate, so that when there's a windfall profit, we get more.
So you are suggesting that the NDC would have also gone for 10%?
No, I'm saying that we could have gone for more. But even if we say 10%, let the 10% be the baseline. Don't say that because of the 10%, you will not aspire to be able to negotiate. After all, the mineral is yours. That's this philosophy that I own a mineral, but somebody else dictates for me. Let the mineral be on the ground. As we speak now, the mineral being on the ground, does Ghana lose anything? If you are the owner of the mineral, why should you not be able to negotiate at least with a certain open-ended? Why is it that other countries are able to negotiate even on the profit that the company will make? And you are sitting there telling me that it should.
Yes, yes, madam.
This process of prospecting for the mineral started in 2012, right?
Yes.
Under the NDC. What was the agreement when it's before?
No agreement was entered into in respect of such figures, because you hadn't discovered it was prospecting. When you have actually discovered the mineral, then you sit down and say that you want to base it on your gold and this. Is that when you are dealing with a green mineral, a new mineral?
There should be a different policy and regime for green.
That's why I agree with the former Chief Justice.
Different policies.
The former Chief Justice
who
says that we are basing this agreement on colonial these agreements. We need to move forward.
When the prospecting started in 2012, what was the agreement?
That was reconnaissance. No, that was reconnaissance.
Yes,
you haven't exploited the deal. You are talking about it.
No, hold on. Her question is legitimate. Her question needs to be answered. If we are going to have a proper discussion, she's saying that this company came in 2012. They started the process of prospecting.
Yeah,
what
so
was the conditions?
I haven't got the facts on that.
Can we find out?
Oh, we can. Why not?
Yeah, we need to start from the history.
If you are doing a prospecting license, how do you then?
It's always safer than to just start in mid.
No, we are comparing the rate that you have gotten.
Can we find out
the rate that is is taking.
What was the agreement in 2012?
And you said the rate currently is 5%.
What
You
was-
have gotten 10%. You
What
said that is
was
the best
there?
deal possible. I'm telling you that. If you could have done better. Nobody's
was
saying
the
that.
agreement?
Listen,
Can we
you see
find
this
the
philosophy
agreement in
about
2012?
criticism being negative. It's not correct.
We have to find out what was the agreement in 2012.
In 2012, had we found lithium in mine?
No, but before you prospect, what was the agreement for prospecting?
Maybe you can help us with
Okay,
that.
so we will find that, and I can see that
You
the,
only bring an agreement in place when you have seen traces of it.
I can see
So
that
you
they,
give a reconnaissance license to them to go and see.
And before you do that, what was the agreement?
There's-
What were the
that if
conditions?
they,
What were- yes.
these are legitimate
Let's
questions.
find out.
We will find out.
We'll
We will find
But
out.
you see, the thing
Yes.
also is this.
But
if we find out,
your
please,
legal
when we
regime-
find out,
your
then
legal
we
regime-
owe it a duty to the public to inform them, to educate them in a way that they will understand, so that they can also support.
I am happy that Parliament is asking for the agreement to come before Parliament, because in Parliament.
So we are raising the CEO of MIF, Nana Yao Kranting, on the phone shortly
All right.
to bring some clarity to some of the questions. He's just texted me. So I'm telling the producers, please let's call Nana Yao. He wants to bring some clarity
No
to
problem.
this
It
matter.
will be
So
good.
we call Nana Yao, and then we can move on to our next topic.
The
and all
last
that.
point I want, maybe when it comes to, is to tell us about the corporate tax of 35%.
Yes, so
Because there's an issue
Nana
that
Yao
has been
Kranting
Is he
is the
on
CEO of
he on the
the.
line?
He's coming on the line shortly.
So I
So
want-
he's the CEO. He'll bring clarity to
Yes,
some of this.
because
We need
the-
just 1 minute to wrap up.
Okay. My last point is about the issue of the corporate tax. You see, there's this allegation that the company is registered under the Ghana Free Zones Authority, which entitles it to a 10-year tax holiday. We need to check that and find out. This effectively limits Ghana's share to the paltry 10% royalty and marginal benefits from the 13 carried interest and the equity 6% equity held by MIA. So if they have a 10-year tax holiday, where comes this 35% thing that we are talking about, that they have a 35, they are going to pay taxes, we are going to get taxes, we'll pay corporate tax of 35% under our laws. We need to check that. Because if they have a tax holiday and they are registered in our Ghana Free Zones Authority, they enjoy a 10-year tax holiday. You understand? So it is important for the government to clarify the status and tax obligations of the company. And I hope that the CEO of MIF will bring us some clarity on the tax element. I'm interested in it.
Okay, so great. So as we wait to raise the CEO, there are some messages here for Ni particularly. So tell Ni to stop the accusations and build a refinery without scoping and feasibility. Ni has not read the agreement. You haven't read the agreement?
The person
Okay.
is entitled to his opinion.
So
I'm raising issues based on what my party has sent out.
Okay, so the NDC gave out gold fields for free in 1990s. Ni, come to the microphone. Don't leave the microphone. Ni, come to the microphone.
Don't let's get
There's a
this
texter,
started.
Ampofo.
But no, you don't.
We have the lawyers.
Let's take to the.
Ni, there's
correct
Ampofo on Facebook who says that the NDC gave out gold fields for free in the 1990s. Is that true? Did you give out gold fields for free? Ni, answer the question.
Of course, we didn't give gold fields out of here. You want to go into the history of gold fields? We'll go into the history of gold fields. What happened?
Okay.
What was the state of the company? Who actually were the ones that signed? Who were the personalities that formed that agreement? What were the circumstances leading to that agreement?
Okay, so there's another message here. It says that okay, so CEO Edward Yao Kranting is on the phone now. Good morning to you, CEO.
Good morning. There seems to be an echo
Okay,
from where you are.
so I'm sorry about the echo, but I just invite you to ignore it so that we can have our conversation. I beg you, with the greatest of respect. Thank you very much, Nana Yao Kranting. Nana Yao Kranting is the CEO of the Minerals Income and Investment Fund. He joins us. So, Chief, there's a discussion that has been ongoing here, and it's really been bordered on this issue of the refinery, which is going to be set up as part of the lithium deal with the Barari. The argument from the NDC side is that it is not mandatory. Can you bring clarity to this?
Sorry, I can barely hear you.
Oh, that's so bad. Okay.
And it looks like my response is echoing. I'm not by the radio, but
Yes,
My response is echoing,
we are
but
looking at what
barely
happened in
hear you. I couldn't get
2012.
the question.
Okay, so I'm sorry. We will try and link up with you on a Zoom link, not by video, but by voice. I'm going to get them to send me the link now. I will send the link to you so that you can connect via Zoom on the link, but without video. So that will be done shortly. That will probably give us a better sound. So I will send you the link shortly by WhatsApp. So that's the CEO of MIF. And Madam, you were saying there are three issues apart from the refinery.
Yes, we are looking at the 2012. What happened before the prospectus?
Okay, 2012.
Yes.
And then refinery. And then Ni's issue has to do with what? The corporate tax.
The corporate tax.
We are looking at the feasibility of the
refinery.
As of now.
Okay, all right. So we would link up with
feasibility
Edward
of the
via
refinery.
Zoom as I send him the Zoom link so that he can join us quickly. You are on Asasi Radio. It is 99.5 in Accra. It is 98.5 in Kumasi, 100.3 in Cape Coast, and 99.7 in Tamale. This is the forum. We are talking Ghana's lithium, and we are discussing other issues. We also have to talk about inflation and matters arising with inflation. Okay, so let me just read this message as we wait for the Zoom connection. Okay, so all right, so I didn't hear what you said, so you're going to have to say it again. All right, so George says that, please, the company can decide to build the refinery if it is feasible. However, if it is not for the company, the right then to go to any local company to build the refinery and mandatory request the Berari DV to supply the lithium to the local company. Give us a break with this unnecessary politics. Okay, that's what somebody's saying. Edward is back on the line. Edward, good morning to you again.
Hello.
Is it better now?
Hello.
Yeah, hello, Edward. Is it better?
Yeah, I think it's slightly better than before,
previously.
but it's still echoing.
Okay.
But I believe your question is whether the refinery is feasible. If I got it.
Yeah, so beyond the feasibility is whether or not it is mandatory.
You know, we need to look at contracts in proper perspective. The Atlantic Lithium Company itself will not be exporting raw lithium. It will still be processing into condensate. However, we requested as part of the contract for the company to look at this construction of a refinery. You can't make it mandatory. It is important that there's a feasibility, we get a scope right, and then we know whether it is feasible to set up the refinery. What we incorporated in the contract, in fact, that is not the MIF part, but what government incorporated in the contract is that the feasibility has to be completed within a certain time frame. As we speak, the feasibility is almost ready. We gave the company, I think, up to first quarter next year. However, it does not stop any other company from setting up processing plants. The agreement that MIF has, which I believe complements that of the government, is that MIF is still off-taking, has the right to off-take up to 40% of the spodumene that is coming from Atlantic's operations. That is part of our contract with Atlantic Lithium. Why did we do this? We did this to leverage on this offtake arrangement to enable us bring in other investors who will be able to build processing plants, that is scalable, etc. So that also gives Ghana an advantage. In the discussions or conversations, I realized that there's very little mention of MIF as part of the greater picture of the fabric that we've created in terms of this arrangement with Atlantic. MIF is still 100% owned by the government. So whatever we have, or the contract that we penned with Atlantic, still has an impact on the greater contract that government has with Atlantic. We are still a government institution. So the refinery in terms of the refinery, MIF has already executed about 3 MOUs with international refineries, etc. But these are early stages. But if the question is whether it has to be mandatory, then we are losing sight of international nuances in terms of such contracts. You can't make a refining mandatory. You know, it is important that we give the option for there to be a feasibility report, whether setting up a refinery, even on the back of the quantum of lithium we have, is feasible. So if you make it mandatory, and they will still have to conduct a feasibility. And if the feasibility comes up and says that, or indicates that a refinery at this stage is not feasible, does it mean that we cancel the contract?
So that's an important
I think,
question.
In discussions or conversations around this lithium contract, which in my view is still the best minerals agreement that we've signed in our history, it is important that we take out the emotions and look at the practicalities that, you know, connect to such contracts worldwide and the global standards. You can't make it mandatory. You know, in a way, I mean, if you look at the way the contract has been worded, you have to set up a refinery, but it is subject to a feasibility study. The feasibility study has a time frame, but we shouldn't also lock out other potential investors that might want to set up refineries, because at the end of the day, we are still exploring for lithium. The Ewoyaa project is just less than 20% of the tenements under Atlantic. There are other exploratory companies that are working on lithium. There's one particular one that is Ghanaian, that is showing really good results at this stage, or at this point. So I think we should take out the emotions and look at how things are done in a practical way. Okay. The refineries are important. As we speak, even on the continent, apart from Namibia, where the Chinese are having conversations and setting up a refinery, there's no refinery yet on the continent. It is not as simple as we see it for it to be made mandatory.
Okay, so I think
the processing is going to take place. That's fine. We are looking at the refinery, which is important, but the feasibility is extremely crucial. You know, so that's my comment on this.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about the issue of corporate taxes that are going to accrue to the states. You can also add the issue of royalties, and then after that, I'll ask you about the when Barari came in 2012. What was the foundation of the agreement that was existing? Maybe we should start from there if you are aware of it. Let's start from 2012 when Barari first came in. What was the foundation of the agreement? What is so different from where we have gotten to with them now as of 2023? Start with that one, and then we'll come and talk about the corporate taxes that are going to accrue to the state.
Thank you. But is it possible to work on the echoing? It's very difficult to hear myself, really.
My technicians are working on that, and so please permit us. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So Barari is actually a Ghanaian company, and they, in line with the law, got the prospecting license in 2012. Now, with minerals, whether bulk or precious or any type of mineral, the prospecting or exploration is quite capital intensive. Sometimes with a 5% or 10% chance of success. This is why you really don't see the state putting down or budgeting maybe $200 million or $1 billion just to go into exploration. That is why it's also important that, in line with the law, there are incentives for exploratory companies to come to Ghana to explore, because they still pay taxes, they still employ, and it's actually part of the FDI regime. So with Barari, they had to bring in investors. I believe that I stand to be corrected. That's up to Barari, the local partners, but I believe that they couldn't get any bank or financial institution to say that, look, I'm going to give you $60 million, $70 million, or $80 million to get into exploration with 5% rate of success. And that is why in such situations, you bring in investors. And that's how Atlantic Lithium came into the picture. So from 2012, they had been exploring. They have been sinking money until the discovery was made just a couple of years ago. But even with the discovery, they had to keep drilling and sinking in more holes just to get to a level where they can say that, look, we can start production. I don't want to use the technical terms, obviously, but it is continuous drilling. It is continuous updating of the studies that they have. So you have a pre-feasibility study that gives you an idea, and then you have a definitive feasibility study that gives you a fair idea that now there's the time to go ahead. But even whilst in production with minerals, you still keep exploring, you still keep drilling. And that is why you find mining companies that might start with maybe life of mine of 10 years, but after 100 years will still be mining, because exploration is continuous and new technology comes into play. And that is why, in my view, it is dangerous when people talk about going through the tendering process, because you won't have that definitive mineral resource that can say that, look, this is the profit point, and also don't have that kind of database that is so definitive. So that argument that, especially from IEA, that we should go through the tendering process is really not a good argument when it comes to the mineral sector. So with the Barari, the foundation is in the law, and they did what almost every exploratory company or any company that has a prospecting license would do, in case they don't have the capital to get into the full exploratory, because that's capital intensive. And I believe that's how Atlantic came in. In terms of the royalties, we negotiated 10%. That's 100% more than the current regime, which is 3 to 5%. Now, it's important that we take this to in proper perspective. I've heard arguments that in the past there was a higher royalty rate. Those were days that, in the 70s, those were days that we had virtually nationalized some of our mining companies, and we had more or less a variable rate. And when you have a variable royalty rate, it can go all the way to 30% or 28%. But you realize that the royalty payments could be just 3%. And that was the case for Ghana in those 70s. We didn't even have any mining company paying more than 3%. That was why the law was changed, and we made it a flat rate of 5%. But there's a range for some, I think 3 to 5%. But the normal, the ceiling that we had before this negotiation was 5%. Again, it is crucial or important that we realize that the 10% for lithium that we have in Ghana is the second highest in the world in terms of royalty rate. The highest is Chile, who are using the range, the variable. So they have 8% to 28 or so. Chile is like the Saudi Arabia of lithium. We are nowhere near the kind of deposits they have. In fact, we are nowhere near even Zimbabwe, but they have much lower royalty rates than we do. We have just one, one site, even though it's really good, that is about to produce. We don't have lithium deposits listed that have been ascertained as having commercial value, etc., to say that, look, we need to take more, etc. It's been seen by a lot of experts as quite surprising that Ghana has been able to negotiate this with Atlantic Lithium. So again, for the royalty rate, it's important that we take it in perspective. This is the second highest rate in the world. Then it comes to the other bit, which is the community development levy. That's 1% on gross revenue. This is the first time that we've had something like this in Ghana. All the other development levies are virtually CSR initiatives, where the mining companies maybe take 1% on profit to support CSR activities. This negotiated levy is actually 1% on gross revenue, which will be directed at the community or to the development of the community. So again, let's look at this in perspective. We had a conversation with the MCE, and the allocation a year for that area, that Infansimang area, is about $120,000 a year. Now, if you look at the 1% development levy right now, even using conservative figures, we are looking at about $6 million a year to that community. So we need to look at these in perspective again. And then there's the other taxes that we have: stabilization levy, we have a 35% corporate tax. In fact, if you put everything together and you do the calculations, Ghana is actually profiting, if you even accrued numbers, in excess of 55%.
Okay, Edward.
Vis-a-vis the other shareholders in Atlantic.
Yes, Edward. So in terms of the corporate tax, we are being told that the company already has some provision of tax holidays. And so Nick Bakpo, for example, was saying that the NDC's position is that the company has some tax holiday for a period of time. And so these corporate taxes you are talking about are not coming in immediately. Can you bring clarity to that?
No, but tax holidays always end. I mean, you're looking at incentives to bring in exploratory companies. So if there's a tax holiday, the tax holidays will always have an end. At the end of the day, you're looking long term. As we speak, they still pay taxes. In fact, I stand to be corrected. I was told that in the Central region, Atlantic Lithium is currently the biggest taxpayer in the Central region. So there might be tax holidays for certain aspects. You could look at negotiating in terms of the refinery, etc. But if you have certain tax incentives, there's always an end to that tax incentive. So we shouldn't, and again, I said it last week on Joy, that we should be careful. When it comes to these arrangements, you always have to play or walk on a tightrope, because it's a balancing act. You don't want to put in, create a fiscal regime or fiscal structure that acts as a disincentive to investors coming into your country. You need that capital. We need that capital to support exploration activities. But now you have an entity like the Minerals Income Investment Fund that can buy additional equity. Previously we didn't have this. So trying to increase taxes and tightening taxes or providing a tight fiscal regime is not the way to go. The way to go is actually to look at the value delivery process, look at the value chain, and how do we make it more Ghanaian. As for the equity, we're doing well. I mean, the biggest shareholder in Atlantic is Asori Group of South Africa. They have about 25%. You know, if you look at how we've structured this, MIF has 3% in the holding company. So anywhere Atlantic sees prospects or other jurisdictions where they can get some mineral rights and be able to profit from that, Ghana is in it, irrespective of the fact that that investment will not be in Ghana. So that 3% by MIF is something that we've not done before. You know, and then you look at the local asset, and we have I think 19% plus 4.4% of the local Barari partner. So you're looking at 4.4 plus 19. Ghana government has 13, which is the highest we've negotiated in terms of free carry interest. MIF has 6%. MIF included warrants, the option of warrants, which means that at a locked-in price, we can actually increase our stake in the Atlantic company. We will be as part of buying on commercial terms. There's also the need for us to we'll be called on to provide cash in line with our equity stake in developing the mine. This is standard. You know, so if you look at equity, we are not doing badly. But the real meat or beef, as most of the time we say in investment parlance, is in the value chain, where you have a local content policy that is saying that the mining proper, etc., should be done by Ghanaian companies. That is saying that 58 or 56 of mining inputs must be provided by Ghanaians. This is where I was hoping that the real discussion will be. But it's not about tightening the tax regime, which is actually one of the highest in Africa. As we speak, Ghana is losing exploratory investments to Mali, Burkina Faso, and even Guinea, because we've tightened our tax regime, which is a disincentive to exploratory companies or for exploratory companies who are seeking to invest in Ghana. And these are facts. So when we're making these conversations or having these discussions, it is important that we look at the current nuances. We look at what pertains in the community or in the investor community in respect to that particular mineral, at least. Gold is different from lithium. You know, as we speak, there's going to be a flash of lithium deposits. We've seen the lithium prices crashing. So trying to tighten the tax regime, making it mandatory for a refinery without a feasibility study are all disincentives. And I heard that someone said we should consider 100% should not be off the table. How is that possible? You know, so I think the discussions are good, and it allows us all to learn and everything, but we must take away the emotions.
Okay, so
and
Edward,
look at
lastly,
what is best for Ghana.
Yeah, so lastly, we are told that this agreement is subject to parliamentary approval. Talk about that briefly as we end this session with you.
Yes, it is subject to, like all other leases that have been signed, it has to go to Parliament for ratification. And the very first part of this agreement clearly states it. I don't have the agreement in front of me, unfortunately, because I don't have the documents in front of me. But I think the very first paragraph says that this is subject to parliamentary ratification. So that makes it surprising again for people who've read the agreement, saying that it needs parliamentary, the government is a sort of, for want of a better way, breaking the law because the agreement is not going to be sent to Parliament. No, it is clear that this is subject to parliamentary ratification.
And when do we hope to send this document to Parliament?
I want to reiterate the fact that with that combination or that inclusion of MIF, this is actually the best agreement, even for any other mineral that we've had in Ghana post-independence. And the facts are clear. If the argument or discussion is that maybe we can still push and get more, that's an argument that I warmly welcome. But it has to be realistic. It has to fit international standards. It has to benefit Ghana, and it should not be a disincentive to investors seeking to come into Ghana, especially into the mineral sector.
Okay, so Kwante, the last question from my guest who is here, and then I'll let you go. So, Madam.
Nana Kwante, I just wanted to find out. I know that the approved policy, the reviewed policy, which was passed on 27th of July, provided that there should be a minimum of 30% of local content and local participation, including listing on the stock exchange. Now, you mentioned 58% of input, local input. Does it mean that what the lithium industry, what the agreement or what you are proposing is bringing in a 58%, what do you call it, local input, which is much, much higher than the minimum of 30%? I just want clarification.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam. And let me provide some clarification. So the critical minerals policy indicates that Ghanaian interest should be at a minimum of 30%. So Ghanaian interest, we're talking about equity here. So right now we have a 4.4% local partner, which is not government. That's the Barari local partner. Then we have MIF having 6%. And then we have government having a free carry of 13%. And then we intend to list on the stock market in a bid to bring it up to 30% and beyond. It is also important that we clearly indicate that MIF, the situation for MIF is very fluid. And MIF will continue to look at the possibility of increasing its stake. MIF has already negotiated warrants, which is an option to increase at a fixed price. So that's an option that we can choose to exercise or not. But all these gives us the opportunity to increase our stake. In respect to the local content, the reference to 58 has to do with inputs in the mining sector that has to be sourced solely by Ghanaians as part of the local content policy that we have in Ghana at the moment. And then the local content policy also prescribes that the actual mining, which is really where there's a lot of value, should be undertaken by Ghanaians. This is the reason why in the gold sector, you realize that companies that used to dominate, foreign companies like AMS, etc., that used to dominate that contract mining sector are all leaving. And you'll see more Ghanaian companies like Engineers and Planners, there are quite a number of them, Maximas, etc., taking replacing those companies and being at the forefront of contractual mining or contract mining in the mineral sector. This is how we develop. And this is how we garner value and slowly evolve to become the likes of Perth, South Africa, etc. And that's why I was saying that I was hoping that discussions will also look at how jobs are created and how Ghanaians take the Ghanaians are pushed to be at the forefront of the mining sector through these value chain opportunities. As for the equity, I think we are there, especially with the listing. That could easily take us above the 30% minimum that the critical minerals policy prescribes. In terms of taxes, if you do put the computation or you work on the computation, with all the taxes, the royalties, etc., Ghana is gaining more than 55%. And that's the point I was actually making initially. I don't know whether that provides the clarification that Madame is seeking.
Yes, so she says the clarity is there. So thank you very much, Nanaya Okranting. Nanaya Okranting is the Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Income and Investment Fund, bringing interesting perspectives to these discussions that we are having. And I believe that the matters have been clarified, and at least there is some certainty. Okay, so there are a lot of messages. Some people are fighting on our Facebook portal, and I don't want to join the fight, but there is Tekpo who says that Mr. Chachu Chikata was given $200 million for oil exploration, but he ended up extracting salt and he was jailed for causing financial loss to the state. NI should give us a break. NDC would have Nicodemously signed its lithium agreement without informing Parliament, and a typical example is Ibrahim Mohammed's bauxite deal that John Mahama signed it on 29 December 2016 when he had lost an election. NDC never again. That's a message that Tekpo is sending. Okay, so there is somebody who is also sending only daft governments will pull down embassies, charges bungalows, and spend about $40 million in digging holes for a cathedral. Why has the government sought for private investors to operate the factory? Okay, so that's the somebody's message. Okay, so it's the same repeated message. All right, thank you. So unfortunately, I don't think we can go back to the lithium discussion because we've run out of time. I want us to talk about the inflation and matters arising with inflation. So, Madam, I'll start with you. Inflation recently has come down, some people say drastically, because of the 8.8% drop in inflation. Ni, come to the microphone. So, Madam, there's a talk that the rate of drop of inflation is a sign that the economy is on a recovery path. Would that be the position that you hold?
Well, I would say that since I'll link it to the exchange rate. Since 2022, we've had the drastic, we had the drastic fall of our cedi to the dollar. It went as far as 17 cedis to 20. The US dollar. 20. Well, it didn't. Please, Ni, stop exaggerating.
And for the avoidance of doubt, those of you who don't know, Madame Gloria is Ni's lecturer.
Yes.
So if he misbehaves here, yes. She taught Ni in the law school. If Ni misbehaves, he will give him an assignment. Okay, Madam, please go ahead.
Well, I don't need to. He's not a learned colleague. But it went to 17 cedis. That was in 2022. And that's affected most of our commodities because you know that most of our commodities are imported. So we need the dollar. Even food from the farmlands have to get fueled. The aboboya needs to be fueled with diesel or something to bring it to the market, local markets, or even the trucks. So it's the drop in the cedi to dollar really affected even our foodstuffs. Fortunately, after some months, the cedi to the dollar came to around, I think it was about 9-10 cedis to a dollar. And things kind of stabilized. Now it's getting to 12 cedis to a dollar. So I would say that the economic management team should have a look at that because the cedi dollar factor, which permeates every aspect of our life, everything is imported. Even this water that we have has an imported component. That's how the economy, unfortunately, is built on. So we have to look at it so that the value of our cedi to the dollar is not adversely affected, and also the value of our earnings. Because if you earned 1,000 Ghana cedis some years back, that was equivalent to $1,000. After a while, the 1,000 cedis became $500. Now the 1,000 Ghana cedis is not even $100. And that's the area that we have to look at.
Okay, so Ni, I'll come to you now. Is your party happy about the drop in inflation?
Oh, why? Our point is very simple. Luckily, the chairman of the economic management team is the flag bearer of the MPP. And so he has decided not to speak to the issue of the economy. And I have called for a debate hosted by Asasi on the economy.
That is not what we are talking about. We are talking about inflation.
Yes, I'm coming. Inflation, my biggest concern for the average Ghanaian this Christmas, and I hope that everybody will reach out to somebody who is not who is needy, and it's food inflation. Food inflation hits harder than anything else. See, because when you have a double slap, at least if the inflationary rate is a bit high, but food inflation is not that bad, at least you are able to manage. But when inflation is high, food inflation is also nobody are mobile. You understand? Because your economy is not standing on any good ground. Your purchasing power, zero. The inflationary rate too, eroding your purchasing power. Then your food too that you eat, prices have, I think we've been lucky this year with the rain, being the rainy season, still being in the system. So you have corn and other things still in the market. I pray that we are able to sustain it. You understand?
Are you praying that the inflation, the rate in inflation, the rate in drop continues?
The economy doesn't discriminate. Electricity bills, water bills, there's no discrimination between NDC and MPP. If the rate of inflation goes down, we all benefit because depreciation in the purchasing power and all that, it goes down. So why not? We all pray that next year by this time it will be single digit. You understand? Coupled with the the food inflation also going down, so that at the end of the day the average Ghanaian can manage, because it's Christmas and you can't sense Christmas anywhere except for the buggers who are in town. Except for the buggers who are in town, the Christmas spirit is zero. I'm wondering what we are going to be getting for the kids, and the other people who rely on all of us for Christmas. Normally, at least you're able to buy something small for workers and all that. This year, I don't know what is going to happen. So comparing this year, this December a year ago, yes,
in 2022, inflation was 54%.
Yes.
Today it is 26.4%. If you do a comparison, you just know that it is much better than it was last year.
It's much better. See, the economic challenges are real. Look, I'm happy about, and let me commend the Ghana Education Service for the draconian punishments they are giving to those heads of institutions who are messing up or are trying to mess up with the free SHS. Because it was really hitting some of us. Some of us have dependents and things you take off. And we are thinking that, as for the free SHS, I know that, this kid is going. So then printing of, admission form, class allocation, all manner of hidden fees. So when I started seeing the suspension letters, I was very happy. I was very, very happy. And so I will pray again that Dr. Bawumia should do his best for us this Christmas by continuing to help us to get this inflation going down, because as it is, we need to hear him on the economy. I want to hear my vice president on the economy. He's our only vice president we have, and we need to hear the Christmas message for him.
It is anticipated that the inflation rate, looking at the rate of drop, by June next year, it should be about between 10 and 12%. Is this something that you think is achievable?
With somebody who has sent the CD to 17 cities.
Send the CD to 17 cities?
17 cities to the dollar. He has, and
it has improved.
Wait. He has sent it to 17 cities. He's on record as being the only chairman of the economic management team under whose tenure people's bonds have not been paid. So when he talks about the economy, I find it very difficult to believe. I want to pray.
We are talking about, we are not talking about the vice president. We are talking about
who is the head of the economic management team.
Hold on. We are talking about inflation, and we are saying that from the trend of analysis.
The head of the economic
hold on.
team?
I need you to answer my question.
Okay, no problem.
From the trend, it is that inflation by June next year will be between 10 and 12.
And I'm saying that this is the same person who inherited the dollar to the cedi at 4 cedis and has taken it to 12 cedis.
So if he brings it down to...
When he makes a projection, I find it difficult to believe.
It came to about 9, 10,
yes.
But now it's gradually going up. So we have to...
but the man inherited 4 cedis. What did he inherit? He asked you like to go to the history. So, but I have these figures. This is why you talk with the lithium. In the lithium debate, you went to the past. So let us go to the past. In 2016, it was 4 cedis. 4 cedis to the dollar. Today, it is 12 cedis to the dollar.
But what I know...
This is not somebody that we can trust his word.
With the post-COVID era was very hard. Now, it dropped. Now, the cedi to dollar came to 9, 10. stayed there, but now it's moving a bit.
And over the
12.
period of
It's
20,
12.
over,
It's not
over the
12.
period of 2023, we've moved from the 9 where it came to about 11.9.
It's now 12.
The last time I checked, it was 11.9.
12. People buy dollars.
Hold on. The last time I checked, and I can check on my, I can check on.
It's not just
I can check right now.
Whatever
12.
correct measures were being taken, I guess should also.
So we need to hear from him.
be upheld,
I think
you
a
know.
Christmas lecture on the economy, the state of the
So
economy.
it is 11.98, which is approximately 12,
What
but
is the-
it is
what is the- what was
11.98.
The anchor, the CD.
Yes.
What was the lecture series? The CD. The anchor cannot hold.
Okay, Mr. Joshua, let me come to you now on inflation matters. The inflation rate has been dropping, and the evidence is there for everybody to see. Some of the analysts are saying that it's a sign that the economy is on a path to recovery. Would that also be your own assertion?
It would have been quite absurd. It would have been quite absurd in a IMF situation with the IMF soldiering us like, I won't use the word slaves, but soldiering us, making sure that we don't sidestep anything, for inflation still to be high. The question is, when we are out of it, what happens? That's the question.
When we are out of what?
When we are out of the IMF thing,
Okay.
when we are not policed, what happens? That's what the question is. Yes, inflation could be going down. It's good if it goes down. But at what rate will it go down till it gets to single digit figures? You are postulating that by June, if it comes down to single figures, that would be fantastic. But then you ask the question, in terms of the exchange rate, can that be stabilized?
I just want to come in here. I think we have lived under some IMF regimes, okay? It was much harsher than this time. It seems that some aspects have been got right, okay? So the IMF is not into that area. I think this is one of the, most lenient IMF regimes we've been so far. For example, there was a time there was a freeze on public sector employment. I don't think there's a complete freeze on that now. And some other measures that we had, which were very draconian.
You are talking about the 2015 IMF deal. I think it was the 2015 one under the Mahama
It was
before.
really hard.
Yes.
So-
Yes.
But this is not, because some aspects of the economic management has been gotten right.
So
Yeah.
we have a
So I
police-
just wanted to bring
we have
that.
That's fine.
We have an IMF policeman at the Ministry of Finance. We have an IMF policeman at the Bank of Ghana, looking at everything, making sure that Ghana is on a right trajectory. Were we not, under an IMF 2017, 2018, 2019? Were we not? Wasn't the economy doing well? Did we not even extend from 2018 to 2019? Did we extend? When we then got out of it, what happened?
The experts say
Look
that
at-
COVID-19
Oh,
came.
please stop that COVID-19 thing.
Well, it's a global
Listen,
problem.
we
COVID-19
were part and parcel of it. Take that COVID-19.
was harsh,
Listen,
and it's
COVID-19.
affected the whole world.
What did the IMF document say? What did the IMF document say? It said COVID-19 exacerbated the situation. How did COVID affect the loans we were going to take? How did COVID affect it? Don't let us, look, let's call a spade a spade. We were 75-80% contributory factors of where we are today. We are. And so I'm saying, look at all the 18 times we've been to IMF. Look at what has cost us to go back to IMF. Please, let's be true to ourselves. If we are able to sustain it, and we haven't been able to sustain food inflation is key. I'm not for Didi. People have to eat. People have to eat. And if we cannot control the depreciation of the cedi, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. And so those factors that can cushion inflation should be looked at.
The economic management.
Another one we are talking about is added value. It's private companies. It's how we add value to our natural resources. It is loans. how we take loans. All these things are in the cocktail contributing to inflation. So if one side is doing well and the other side is not doing well, it affects the pocket of the ordinary Ghanaian.
Chairman of
That's what the problem
Okay,
is.
so essentially you are saying that Eunice Champoma says that NI is not quite happy that the inflation is coming down, so he has less to talk about. So that's Eunice's message
Chairman
to
of
you.
the Economic
He says that
Management Team.
you are not happy that the inflation rate is coming
I
down,
want to
so
hear from
you
my
are talking
Vice
about
President.
somebody else
I
when
want to talk
we are
about my
talking
Vice
about
President.
inflation.
I want
The
a
Vice
Christmas
President,
message
he
from
lives
my
just
Vice-
around here. You can go and visit
The
him
Economic
when
Management
we
Team,
close.
a lecture.
Okay, and then there is Lee Tekpa who says that Mr. Wilberforce, please tell Madam to put NI in a naughty corner if he misbehaves. Okay, so I've told Madam. Madam will take care of that. All right, we are ending the show now.
Unfortunately, we don't have time.
Where we finish?
I wanted us to play Kenneth Ofori-Atta's interview 2016. I have it on my phone. I want us to play that one.
Okay, we'll play it next week. No worries. Okay, so
The world has
Lots
changed.
of excessive
All right,
borrowing.
okay.
Braforo,
You should have played it. You should have answered a lot of questions.
Kufuor was $1 $1. John
Okay.
Mahama was $1
So-
$2.
So that's been our show today. The forum is today's guest on the forum, Kwame Jantua. He's a member of the Convention People's Party
the
and a private legal practitioner. Thank you, Mr. Jantua, for coming. Nikwapo Samoa Ado is also a private legal practitioner, managing partner Ado and Ado legal attorneys and lecturer Gimpa Law Faculty. Thank you, Ni, for coming. And then finally, lawyer Gloria Ofori-Boadu is managing legal practitioner, GOB at Law.
Law Consult.
GOB Law Consult. Okay, we didn't add the consult. So GOB Law Consult. And the GOB is Madame Gloria Ofori's initial. So
And I'm a
G for
former
Gloria,
banker too.
O for Ofori, and B for Boadu. You said you're a former
Banker.
banker. Okay. In fact, when I saw the COB, I actually thought it was CBG. And also a lecturer of NI when he was a schoolboy. So that also must be emphasized. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming and making the show what it is. And now NI is her learned colleague, so it's understandable. Today we talked about beyond extraction and processing of lithium. We also talked about inflation. The show has been produced by Emmanuel Ohiming with able support from Daniel. Is it far away? He has an interesting name. I'm trying to learn how to pronounce the name. So yes, Daniel is also assisting with the production. My name is Wilberforce Asare. Thank you very much for the privilege of your company.
Thank you.